All right, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I show top of the hour. In interest of time, we'll get this started off. So welcome to the 5th DOD Survivor Symposium, Navigating Survivor Benefits and Resources Together, hosted by the DOW Office of Casualty Mortuary Affairs and Military Funeral Honors. My name is Brian Belke, and I'm from the Office of Casualty Mortuary Affairs and Military Funeral Honors. We'll moderate today's symposium. First, let me cover the Survivor Symposium event disclaimer. Next slide, please. The presence of links and information in presentations during the Department of War's Survivor Symposium does not constitute endorsement by the DOW. The opinions expressed in this presentation and on the following slides are solely those of the presenter. Next slide.
I can honestly say I think.
As part of the War Department's commitment to survivors of active duty deaths, the DOW is hosting the Survivor Symposium. The symposium will provide a platform for survivors and service providers to learn and gain information on a variety of important topics. This meeting is being recorded. During the symposium, attendees will be unable to use their microphones or video, and the chat and raise hand functions are also disabled. Please submit any questions you have in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. The panelists will be able to see those questions and respond to select questions from the box at the end of each of our topics today. Responses to additional questions will be answered at the end of all briefings, but before the conclusion of the symposium. A recording of this symposium will be posted to Military OneSource, and we'll get to that in a coming up slide. So next slide, please. Yeah, the topics for today will be updates from the Department of War, Defense Finance Accounting Service, Department of Veterans Affairs. We're going to talk about third-party representation, Medicare and TRICARE For Life, and an overview of Social Security, and then continue into the financial scholarships and benefits resource information on the College Success Roadmap series. Yeah, we're already on the next slide. Our next symposium will be on June 12th, 2026, and we're already planning for the topics of these standard updates, discuss tax planning considerations for military survivors, which is not the same as filing your taxes. This is implications for where you invest money and when you pull it out. We look forward to that topic. And I'll state it again as we get ahead, but we have a lot of information. If you were on our last symposium with Mr. Mark Dunlop, he has a lot of information on the college roadmap, on financial success and scholarship. What we don't get through today, we'll pick up on the next one. So next slide, please. All right, slides. We encourage you to stay connected by signing up for Survivor Connection newsletter, and you may receive updates about symposiums and view past symposiums at these links on OneSource. And we know you can't click on the slide. We're going to show quick, and they will drop in the chat that you should all be able to see the links for these. But this is our Survivor Symposium series page. If you would scroll down. The one, this gives you all the details. Hopefully you saw this to register. All our past 4 are posted right there. This is where this one will be posted once it's we do review it, make sure it all plays correctly. And we wanted to point out something. If you're YouTube savvy, you already may know this, but yeah, Mercedes, you hit play. When you play, depending on your bandwidth, YouTube automatically gives you the lowest quality. If this screen's in 144, which he's showing you right there, quality is auto, it's almost unreadable. So if you have a bad image, please check this. It'll adjust your resolution. You may not be able to get the highest depending on your bandwidth, but usually if you can get at least 360, it's readable. This is also where you can adjust playback speed and that, but just a little thing that some of the folks didn't know. And if you haven't ever played with it, it can force you into bad resolution. And then if you'll scroll down some more, we wanted to show you another part. If you're already to this page, we've got questions and answers, and you go down a little further right there where there's the red outlinks. You can get to the survivor inquiry form, which goes right to us in the Office of Casualty, Mortuary Affairs, and Military Funeral Honors. So that form, if you click that link, plus that is searchable, and there's a lot of other pages on Military OneSource that link to it. Those questions will come right to myself and Miss Lisa Valentine, which you'll meet a little later on this, and we will get you an answer within a business day or two. Then Mercedes, you go back. The other link on that, if you want to talk to your services long-term organization and you don't know who those are, the link right there, Survivor Questions and Feedback, takes you to an article about all the ways you can get a hold of us, all the ways you can get feedback. But the big one, scroll down a little further, is long-term case managers for each of the services. So if you don't know offhand who your SOS coordinator is or who your Navy Gold Star point of contact or how to get hold of the Marine Corps, that's all right there. So it at least gets you to their headquarters level, and they will get you to your specific assistance. All right, if we go back to the slide deck, and yeah, Mercedes dropped them in chat, so you should be able to see all those links. So this is the 5th symposium we've hosted. If you are interested in watching the past symposiums, we just showed you the article, includes recordings and transcripts, and you can also find them if you just get to militaryonesource.mil and search Survivor Symposium. It should take you to that page. And when the symposium ends, you will receive a brief survey by email. Please take a few minutes, fill it out. We want to know what you think of today's symposium, what we could do better. And also, this is where we do find topics. Please tell us any topics you would like us to cover. So with that, if we go to the next slide, it's now my pleasure to introduce Miss Deborah Skillman, who is the Director of Casualty Mortuary Affairs and Military Funeral Honors, for opening remarks. And thank you for joining us today. Ms. Skillman, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Brian. Afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you today for the 5th iteration of the Department of War Survivor Symposium. As Brian was saying, this is a great opportunity for us to share updates, provide new information, answer questions, advise family members who, may not know where to look, where all of our things are on Military OneSource. Both Brian and Lisa, Tim Scott and Trevor Dean, who are also part of our very small team, but a very powerful team. We're here to help family members and survivors and our veteran community to answer their questions if they just don't know where to go. So we are always here to provide support and also support the service departments who do the important job of taking care of surviving family members. I know we have a lot of great topics to discuss today. I was just looking at the overview from Social Security about Medicare, and I wish I'd had this brief. We had this brief at the last symposium because I just had to apply for Medicare myself. So it's going to be a great briefing for family members who are not aware of that, and all the information on TRICARE and DFAS and VA. So I don't want to belabor anything, but please go into the chat if you have any questions, if there's something that we missed, if there's a topic that you would like us to bring up in the future. We would be happy to put that on the schedule. But again, welcome to all the family members, our survivor community, and those who take care of surviving family members. Looking forward to the discussion. So I'm going to turn this back over to Brian.
All right. Thank you, Deb. Today, we've come together with a shared purpose to support the survivors of active duty deaths and the dedicated professionals who work to assist them. Our goal is to provide meaningful resources and updates. Throughout the symposium, we'll explore the support systems available to you and work to educate you on benefits and entitlements. We truly hope the symposium provides clarity, comfort, and valuable insights. Your feedback is invaluable in helping us inform future symposiums. Please take a moment to share your thoughts when you receive the feedback email that will be sent after this event. So next slide. All right, to start us off, the first topic is an update on ID cards for remarried spouses. We have Mr. Bob Eves, who is a management and program analyst on identity policy with the Defense Manpower Data Center. And Bob, the presentation is yours.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies, I have technical difficulties with my government furnished equipment, and I can't do audio via the Zoom link, so I'm audio via phone. I wanted to talk to you briefly this afternoon about an update for ID cards for remarried surviving spouses. The 2023 NDAA tasked the department with issuing ID cards with commissary exchange and MWR benefits to what the language legislative language used was certain remarried surviving spouses of deceased service members. Those include the surviving spouses of active duty, National Guard, and reservists, and they are all eligible for the commissary exchange and MWR privileges under, the fiscal year 24 NDAA. And we worked diligently at DMDC, and that capability was fielded to our ID card offices throughout the department at the end of September 25. There was communication to the survivor community in December, and we, on our part, reached out to our ID card offices to share information that this population was now eligible for an ID card with benefits. I want to note to the population here that the remarried surviving spouses are the only group of remarried spouses within the department that the department is issuing ID cards to. So this is a big paradigm change at the ID card sites. And as some of you may have experienced, it's a challenge. We have worked with the sites in the interim, and there are two different categories of surviving spouses, if you will. Those remarried surviving spouses, those who remarried some time ago and went to an ID card office and had their existing unremarried surviving spouse ID card terminated and walked away without an ID card. And those unremarried surviving spouses who are going to an ID card office to report their remarriage. The process that's required for you to do so is to complete the DD Form 1172-2. It can be located and downloaded from that link that appears on the slide. And then you need to make an appointment at one of our ID card offices. The link there for the ID card office locator will take you to a page where you can input your location, address, zip code, as you wish, and do a search. If you don't find an ID card site within the radius, I believe the initial search radius, unless you change it, defaults to 10 miles. So you can expand it out until you find an ID card site within that search radius. And then by clicking on the ID card site results, you'll be able to schedule an appointment. When you go to that appointment with your 1172-2 and 2 valid forms of ID, at that time, then they will identify the scenario and in which you fall, one of those two that I previously discussed. And the ID card sites now have, based on our experience and the difficulties in implementing this change, step-by-step processes for both scenarios in order to update your record under your deceased sponsor to provide for ID card issuance. So that's the update I wanted to provide today. I don't have a view to the Q&As, but happy to address any questions that may be entered regarding this particular capability. Over.
Thank you, Bob. And we do have time for questions. So if you do have a question, the Q&A block should be on the bottom of your screen. We did get one question so far. I'll read it, and Bob, but I think I can answer it too. I was asked, why can't my surviving children 30 years plus get MWR commissary and ID card privileges? So I'll leave it to Bob, but also it's tied to your status to the survivor, and eligibility for that ID card, and that is not I guess not an ID card holder right now. So yeah, I'll leave it for Bob to.
Unfortunately, the statutory requirements for an eligible dependent child end at age 21. They can be extended to age 23 if they are a full-time student, but there is no provision in statute or policy to issue ID cards to dependent children beyond that age. And I guess there is one more scenario, and that would be where a dependent child meets the requirements for TRICARE Young Adult. It's a premium-based program, and that would extend eligibility for an ID card with medical benefits only out through that child's 26th birthday. But with the TRICARE Young Adult, there are no base benefits, specifically commissary exchange and MWR associated with that ID card. It's not the answer you're looking for, but it's the best answer I can give you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Stated better than me. And we did get another question. I think specifically the ID cards, this apply to foreign spouses, for example, a British surviving spouse in the UK.
It should, yes. We have ID card sites, ID card offices in the UK. And if you are enrolled in DEERS or were enrolled in DEERS as the spouse of that service member, and you're now a remarried surviving spouse, this provision should apply to you as well.
Oh, perfect. And then we just got another one, and I think this is sort of what we were already addressing, but it's we've had quite a few situations where a remarried spouse was denied any ID card. Do you have any suggestions on what to provide the DEERS office to explain they are now eligible?
And this is what I spoke about early on in this slide. This is a paradigm shift. And we have, there have been 3 separate communications to the ID card offices. One was initial information sheet, if you will, that went out with the software change when the office received that change back in the September-October timeframe. The second was what we referred to as a message of the day that was transmitted in December at the same time that the survivor population was notified through the Casualty Mortuary Affairs and Funeral Honors Office communication to the population, advising the sites that this population was eligible. And then the most recent, based on the problems that were experienced in December, went out earlier this month and provided that step-by-step process for the 2 different categories of this remarried surviving spouse population that I described. So again, as we briefed earlier this month to a joint surviving spouse symposium, I would ask that if you still experience problems with this, that and Brian or Lisa, you can provide the public-facing web page where instances where the sites could not or would not issue an ID card to a married surviving spouse. If you could provide that information, it would be greatly appreciated so we can take it up with the service operating that site. Specifically, the request is to ask for the site name, the site ID number. That will be a 6-digit number, and the service operating it. And then that gives us enough information to go back specifically to the service and point out that that particular site/office is not complying with the guidance they've received with regard to the issuance of remarried surviving spouse ID cards. And we do apologize, and we ask for your patience as the sites become accustomed to issuing these remarried surviving spouse ID cards.
Thank you, Bob. And that's what you can always contact your long-term service office. They should be able to help and get us the information. And you always have the survivor inquiry form. So you fill that out, submit it. That will get to Lisa and myself, and we will get that information to Bob to get that office following the proper procedures. So that's all we have for questions. So thank you, Bob. Again, if you think of something after the fact, you can still put them in. We'll answer at the time left at the end. And also, if it's a bigger question, again, the survivor inquiry form is there. We'll get that information onto the appropriate folks, whether it's Bob or somebody else at DFAS, to help you out. So with that, if we go to our next slide, our next speaker is Miss Jennifer Harlow, who is the project manager for the Online Survivor Benefits Report, or OSBR, and she'll be giving us a update and overview of the OSBR. With that, Jen, it's floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Brian. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I am going to just quickly remind everyone that there is a program under the Casualty and Mortuary Affairs Office called the Online Survivor Benefit Report. And what's very important about this is that when I've interacted with active duty survivors, so this is eligible for active duty survivors, and the one thing I get the most is that survivors recall receiving their initial online survivor benefit report shortly after the death of their service member. But I just wanted to let you know that in addition to that, you have 24/7 access to what's called the interactive OSBR, which gives you the up-to-date information on current benefit rates. For example, the VA DIC rates go up in January, December 1st, effective for January pay, and law changes, things like that. And so what we want to encourage everyone is to check your OSBR once a year. And also, in addition to that, you have access to the Family Assistance Support Team. So our team is dedicated to providing answers on monthly benefits on the OSBR, and that covers VA, Social Security, and Survivor Benefit Plan. Each family household gets their own report, so it's customized to you. And our help desk is available to answer those questions, as also for working with long-term care folks on understanding benefit changes, or if you have a problem with your benefits. And so, you know, this is a great time of year to access your interactive report. So what you need to do is, if you haven't already provided the Family Assistance Support Team your DS Logon username, that will allow you to connect to your interactive report. So you can contact the Family Assistance Support Team and provide your DS Logon to be able to access your customized active duty report. And it'll have the 2026 information there. And again, it's always great to check it once a year, because even there are changes throughout the year. For example, every October, there is usually a change to the Veteran Education Assistance DEA Chapter 35 in October. So there are several times, and then over the past 5 years, there have been several legislative changes that have affected the benefits to the families. And so to access the report, you go to your service branches of the service branch for your service members branch, and you can go to Military OneSource, and the link is here in the slide, but I'm also going to put it in the chat. And you can go to Military OneSource and you can search Online Survivor Benefit Report, or even OSBR, and that will take you to the general information about the program. In addition, it'll have a webinar, a podcast, all the information available for that. So it's a great tool for you to understand the benefits, what they are now, and how they'll change over time. So before I close, one thing I want to point out is that when you have children under 18 in the home, that affects your benefits. And so if you have children that are in their teens getting ready to turn 18, it's really important to understand that the OSBR shows what your benefits are now and how they change as your children age out. And then a topic that's going to be discussed today is some Social Security benefits. So as a surviving spouse, in most cases, the earliest you can draw Social Security as a survivor is age 60. There are some exceptions for disability, or you can decide, meeting with Social Security, to take it at a later date. But this report helps you do that. And then the interactive report can also do what's called what if scenarios, which means that you can go in and look at your current report, and then you could continue on to a calculator that says, what if I want to go back to work, or what if I want to stop working? How does that change my benefits? If I want to consider remarriage, does that affect my benefits? Because if you're under age 55 or over age 55, that will show the benefit changes for you, and it'll show what the children will still get. So there's a ton of information. And on top of that, you can contact our family assistance support team anytime. So I'm going to put our contact information in the chat, and also the link that is provided on the slide. I do see that there are some questions. And so Ms. Hammond, I see here your question about an active duty survivor from 1986. We can provide the information on the benefits. The benefits are a little bit different post 9/11. And so if you can, I'm not sure if you have the ability to message me directly, or if I think I can message you directly so I can follow up with you on that to give you that information.
And I think, Jen, they can always call the FAST team.
Correct.
And you can assist them too. So if you don't have that information, again, search Military OneSource. We've got all the phone numbers, contacts there. And always, as the backup, you can always do the survivor inquiry form. We'll get that information to Jen and her team, and they'll reach out to you.
Thank you, Brian. And the next question is, can a guardian, not a surviving spouse, of a surviving minor child access the OSBR to see their survivor benefits? Yes. And in the past, you could only access it by contacting the family assistance support team to identify yourself as the guardian, and we would connect with you. But there has been a new change that allows guardians to access the DS logon. With the DS logon is the ability to access the interactive report. There is a caveat. So for guardians of minor children, there is a DD form 3005, which is called the DS surrogate logon request. And I'm going to put that form in the chat. And you take that to your nearest ID card station facility to be able to get access to get a DS logon, and you would be able to access your minor child's benefits. And then also on that note, adult children can access their OSBR as well. They would just have to establish their own DS logon after they're 18. And the next question, I am just returning to college and doing work study. Do these benefits affect my DIC account? Trisha, are you a surviving spouse? If you could answer that. If you are a surviving spouse and you are returning to college and using college benefits, surviving spouses are not affected by schooling. Your DIC is not affected at all. Okay, yes, so you are a surviving spouse. So yes, your DIC is not affected by any education benefits that you draw. And that would not affect your monthly income with SBP, Social Security, or DIC. And if you are a surviving child, there are some rules about DIC. You can draw DIC up to age 23 if you're in school. However, the Chapter 35 and Chapter 33 are benefits that you would probably want to use because they're a higher amount than the DIC under age 23. It's a smaller amount. So what I would recommend for children is to contact the VA Education Assistance Department to discuss what your best options are as far as using Chapter 35 dependent education assistance, which is a flat rate every month, or the Chapter 33. So yes, so for spouses, it does not affect your DIC. For children over 18 and under 23, you have some choices, and recommend contacting the VA Education Department. You're very welcome. And yes, so if you have any further questions, I put our team's email, phone number, and then I'm going to put in the information about the Guardian Surrogate logon into the chat. So thank you very much for your time, and reach out to us. The Family Assistance Support team is here for you.
Thank you, Jen. All right, if we go to the next slide. Our next presenter is from the Defense Finance and Accounting Service, retired in an annuitant pay division. Mr. Nathan Linux is a financial systems specialist, and he'll present it on how marriage affects the survivor benefit plan. Nathan, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. As Brian said, I'm here to talk to you today about marriage and how marriage affects the survivor benefit plan. Right. So as you can see, every annuitant under the age of 55, every spouse annuitant under the age of 55 has to verify their marital status every year. Starting last year, maybe the year before, we added a function in MyPay where you can go directly into MyPay, just log into your account, and you can verify whether or not you've married in the past year. If you haven't married, obviously nothing changes. But if you have married and you're under the age of 55, the survivor benefit would stop upon the month that you get married in. So if that is something that you're thinking about, if you have eligible children under the survivor benefit plan would shift from spouse coverage to child coverage effective that month. Okay, so timely notification is key in all of this, because if the longer that the spouse waits to let us know that they've remarried after, all that money will have to be paid back. So obviously, so you want to let us know as soon as you can that you've remarried. Now, to transition the benefit to the spouse, or to the child, rather, sorry about that, to the child, you just have to go out to our website and apply for survivor benefits for the children. There's a DD 2656-7. That's the application for the survivor annuity. And we have a great new tool out there called a Form Wizard. The Form Wizard it's a tool that takes the form out of the form. In essence, it asks a series of questions, and it completes the form automatically for you. It really helps to reduce on errors when filling out that form. If the child is under the age of 18, there is a custodianship form that will need to be filled out and accompanying the application. And then there's a direct deposit form so that we know where to send the money. And every the survivor benefit plan is taxable. So there's an IRS form W4P. That's the form for annuitants to complete. You see down at the bottom, there's a link to our forms library. You'll find all the forms out there. Many of the forms, like the 2656-7 does have that form wizard available, which really helps with completing it. And all of these forms can also be submitted to us through Ask DFAS, which is another great tool available to everyone to submit forms to us electronically. That way you don't have to go on a search to find a fax machine if there are ever any even around anymore, or you don't have to put it in the mail and wonder about when we get it and when it'll be processed. Ask DFAS provides responses back to you, status notifications to you to let you know when we receive the form, when the form has been acquired by a technician, and then once it's complete, there's a final notification sent to let you know about that. Next slide, please. So if you remarry and that marriage ends either through death or divorce, you become, the spouse becomes eligible for survivor benefits again. And just like the transition from spouse to child, if there is a child still receiving SBP, then the spouse becomes the primary person eligible to receive the survivor benefit plan, and notifying us timely that that subsequent marriage has ended is key to minimizing debts owed by any children that are out there. And if there aren't any children, and the marriage, the second marriage ends, you're still eligible to come back. You just have to reapply for SBP. It's the same process that I just described for the children. 2656-7, use the form wizard. That's the easiest way to go. And then, print it out, sign it, and scan it back in and send it to us through AskDFAS. If you can always mail it to us as well, but AskDFAS is just the quickest way and the way that you get the most up-to-date feedback on that. You would need to also include supporting documentation to let us know that the marriage ended, either a death certificate or a divorce decree, and always include the member's social security number on all documentation. That way, everything gets scanned in and put into the right accounts and applied to the right account. Next slide, please. So if you have any questions about what happens when a marriage ends, you can always you can also use AskDFAS to submit questions directly to us, or you can call our customer care center at the number on there. Like I said, I can't stress timely notification enough. There will be debts created if there are payments that go out past the marriage date. So just make sure that you let us know right away if you get married or if that marriage ends. Go ahead on to the next slide. So for child annuitants are affected by this as well. All children from starting at age 14 through 22, generally speaking, they have to verify that they did not marry as well. And so the main group of these are processed through their annual school certification. So once a child turns 18, they have to be in school full-time, and they have to verify that. There's a question on the school verification form asking if they have remarried. As long as they haven't remarried and they're enrolled in school full-time and haven't joined the military, they're eligible to receive SBP. We get this question a lot about why age 14 through 17 have to verify, and that's just because marriage does disqualify you from receiving SBP, and there are states that allow marriage as young as age 14. I have never seen one, but it is possible, so we have to ask. And once you get married, unlike spouse, once you get married once, you are permanently ineligible for SBP. If the marriage dissolves for whatever reason, you can't come back into it. This also applies to incapacitated children. If you're a child annuitant that maintains eligibility due to a disability and you get married, you'll lose the eligibility for SBP. Let's see. I see that there's some questions. Let me look at those. Yeah, is the spouse's SBP paid back to the date of marriage? Yes, absolutely. We run into that a lot as well. Wait, am I reading that question right? I mean, oh yeah. Okay, yeah. There's a second question on there. Yes, the children would get SBP back to the date of marriage. So there's no actual money lost in that process. It's just who is eligible for it, either the spouse or the children, but it would all be paid out. There's another question. Can a surviving former spouse get benefits if no premiums were ever paid? So SPP is a paid program. The member has to elect it. If while a member is in active duty, while they're on active duty, they're automatically eligible, and the benefit or the premiums are paid by the branch of service. If a member retires and does not have survivor benefit, did not have the survivor benefit program, then no, there's no benefits there.
And I think to back Nathan up on that, this form is for active duty deaths. So when we're talking SBP, we're talking active duty survivors that have automatic coverage. There was never any premium needed to be paid. Once you separate from active duty or retire, it's a separate program.
Right. Thank you, Brian.
Any other questions for Nathan? And again, we're here for the whole symposium. We're available once the symposium is done by all the ways we've shown. So if there's nothing else for Nathan, we'll move on to our next speaker. And thank you, Nathan. So if we go on our next slide, our next speaker is from the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Ms. Kelly Ruska is the Executive Director of Affairs Office of Survivors Assistance. I think I butchered that there. That's an update for us. But Ms. Ruska, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Brian, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a great afternoon. My presentation is going to be brief. I just want to notify you of a big change under the Dependent Education Assistance Program, or I think it's more commonly referred to as the Chapter 35 benefits. Starting today, at the end of January, Chapter 35 beneficiaries are now going to be required to verify their enrollment every month to receive their benefit payments. This is very similar to what is done under the post 9/11 GI Bill, under the Montgomery GI Bill, and it is now being required of DEA or Chapter 35 recipients. You can verify your enrollment through text, email, online, through the Ask VA system, or by calling the education call center at the number on your screen. If you want to receive the text, when you start the program, they'll ask you if you want to verify your enrollment by text. If you respond yes, they'll send you a text every month asking you to verify your enrollment. And I want, for all of these, make sure that you go on to your VA account and make sure that your information, your contact information is current. Once enrollment's verified, the VA will begin processing your monthly benefit, and that will take about 5 to 7 calendar days. And again, please go on and make sure that your contact information is current. I'm hoping that those that are receiving DEA benefits have already heard about this change, but I just want to remind everyone if they haven't. Next slide, please. VA is, the Office of Survivor Assistance is trying to find new ways to reach out and get surviving families the information that they need. This week, we just had our first in a survivor series. This will be a monthly program, 1 hour. It will be the third Wednesday of every month from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go on to our website at Office of Survivors Assistance, and you will see the link. You can just grab the link. There's no need to register. We have a schedule of programs that already up on the website, but I have them here on the slide. And then we post the slides from the program every month. I hope that you're able to join us. And if you have ideas that you would like to learn more about, you can email us at officeofsurvivorsassist@va.gov. And I just put that in the chat. And then we also continue to do our quarterly joint VA Department of War Survivors Forum. And the next forum, we just recently had the quarterly meeting last week, and we are looking forward to having another meeting in, I believe, May. So that's it from the VA right now. If you have any questions, please let me know. Or as I said, you can reach out to Office of Survivors Assist at va.gov with any questions. Thanks, Brian.
And thank you, Ms. Ruska. And yeah, I don't see anything in Q&A. So again, we'll be online. If you think of something, please drop it in. But we'll move on to our next speaker. So we have, next slide. Now, our final presenter of the afternoon is Mr. Mark Dunlop, who is a financial counselor for the U.S. Army, and our own Miss Lisa Valentine, who is the program manager in Casualty, Mortuary Affairs, and Military Funeral Honors, will assist Mark as the moderator. He has a few topics for us, and we'll get through as many as time allows. Anything we don't get to today, we'll hold over for our next symposium, which will be June 12th. So the first topic Mark has for us is picking up on financial milestone tips and reminders for military survivors. Part 3, he's talked some of this on our last 2 symposiums, but we'll for time remaining, hand it over to Mark. So Mark, the floor is yours.
So Mark, at our last symposium, you and Christine provided us valuable information. And as a reminder, can you go over some key tools when looking at cash flow?
Great. And we can go to the next slide. You see the disclaimer. I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. I'm a CFP. I'm a financial planner. So I always refer people in our presentation to seek, from the appropriate authorities for any clarification on the concepts. But in the last symposium, we looked at some key tools. First of all, active duty unremarried spouses and eligible children can request access to run the interactive online benefit report. Jen Harlow did that wonderful overview of where we are. And what I want to remind people is they can go back and look at the recording that she did in the February symposium, because in that February symposium, what we had was a great opportunity for her to really show how that program works. So I encourage people to look at that. So that's a kind of an interesting thing. The other thing is for recordings and handouts of past symposiums, I encourage you to go to Military OneSource, casualty assistance. Now, if you go to part 1, we went over tax preparation. Next session, we're going to be talking about planning for 2027 and beyond. So that's something that's kind of interesting. In the past symposium, we told people, hey, if you created a Social Security username before September 18th, 2012, you'll need to switch to login.gov. Guess the reality is you do have to switch to login.gov. That's how it goes right now. Now, for more information, it tells you how to go and visit it. The Social Security Administration phased out its own login system on June 7th, 2025. The option to sign in with a Social Security username and password was completely removed, making login.gov or ID.me the sole methods for accessing your online account. So you'll see the slide deck. That's important to take advantage of at socialsecurity.gov. So that's a little review of some of the past sessions. The next slide. Okay, so one of the key things is the databases. And we talked about use your DS login to get into My Army Benefits, which is absolutely terrific. And I encourage people to do that. What I'm telling people is in addition to that, what I'd like you to do is have a lot of other ways to log in. Oh, yes, I'd like you to log into Military OneSource and get your password. I know it's 15 characters. You change it on a regular basis. So that's the second one. But I'd like you to also have a login.gov. Why? That gets you into the VA system very easily for you seeing your educational benefits, the status, what was paid, login.gov. If you prefer to use ID.me, fine. I tell people it's not bad to have both ways to get into the VA system because you're going to use that to get into other systems anyhow. The world has moved to dual authentication. Login.gov and ID.me are real popular. I encourage my own children over 18 already to have their login.gov and ID.me. It's just handy to do. So now we're up to 4 databases to log in. I realize that. But I think that's really important. Now, it's interesting. You need, if you want to go into the Benefed system, which is the system for the voluntary vision and dental plan, we'll talk about that a little later. You will need your ID, you'll need your login.gov way to get in there. So yeah, that's the way the world has gone. It's not as easy in the past. And Social Security, you got to get in, as we mentioned earlier, that way. So a little update from that we talked about. The DS login is still able to help you get into TRICARE Medical. I know many people say, I don't know how to log in. I said, how do you know who's your PCM? So that's kind of handy to do. Getting into the dental is handy. Getting into DEERS is handy. And those OSBR reports. And I can't overly emphasize what Jen Harlow had said. You know, it's 2026. Have you run your 2026 online interactive OSBR report if you're an active duty survivor? I hope so. If not, with your DS login, if it's linked to them, you might have to call them if you never linked it. Yeah, pretty good thing to do. So that's kind of an important thing. Eligible survivors, I encourage you to really look at the robust collection of materials at Military OneSource. Easiest ways to log in. And I got news for you. You probably are using that if you're downloading the MilTax to download the software. It's the H&R Block software. The software, bring it down, log it in, and then if you have a question, call Military OneSource. A great system for taxes. There's a lot of good stuff, but the bottom line is, as Brian mentioned, look at the past symposiums. On the next slide, we have a little more update that I think will be very helpful. And that is the update from you. I simply want to know, where are you at? If you don't mind, put it in the Q&A. We'll bombard that Q&A. Where are you from? Where are you from? Have we interacted before? Is this your first symposium? If you want to put a few words, just put in the Q&A. We can just glance at it, get to know the type of audience we're hitting. You know, that's how I am. I've been a university teacher for 40-some odd years. I love knowing the audience and getting to know them. Take a moment. Who are you? Where are you from? Now, I recognize some of the names. I probably know 2/3 of the audience. We've interacted on one-on-one basis one time or another. So that's a joy for me. But yeah, just say hello. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you. And so, yes, say hello. Let us know who you are, where you're from, part of the country if you want, Army, Navy, anything you want. Just get a feel of the audience. That being said, Lisa's people typing that. Let's get into our three-part presentation.
There are so many types of TRICARE. There's TRICARE Prime, there's TRICARE Select. But Mark, what is TRICARE for Life?
And that has been a question that comes up a lot. 2 weeks ago, I did an evening Q&A session with survivors. We had about 150 participants. And that was a common question. Many people said, wait a second, what is it? So I gave them some places to look. The handbooks, the brochures, the news articles. And then if you go to the next slide, then I basically summarized it this way. So you have the references. And I said, bottom line is TRICARE for Life is not Tri-West. It's not Tri-East. It's actually something handled by Wisconsin Physician Service, WPS, Military and Veterans Health. It is not Tri-East, Tri-West. Someone says, I called Tri-West and they didn't have me. I know they didn't. You're over 65. TRICARE for Life, it's administered by the War Department through the Defense Health Agency, DHA. Now, if you're overseas, you're getting it through International SOS that handles the administration. Someone had asked me, is that Survivor Outreach Services? No, it's actually the name of the entity is called Survivor SOS for the international. And I say all not to belittle it, but this is how the best way to explain TRICARE for Life is. It's a Medicare wraparound benefit. What does this mean? It means Medicare is primary and TRICARE is secondary. The Department of War and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, they work together to coordinate these benefits. And we're going to talk about for a few minutes. Now, you might say, I'm 33 years old. Is this topic even pertain to me? I got news for you. Some point you will be a little older, but equally, you probably have family members where a lot of this information is useful. So stay tuned with us. And this was probably the most popular topic we've been asked to address. So even if you're not in this target audience, I hope you find this helpful.
Call from
Lisa.
Yes. So let's go to the next slide. You know, We have on Military OneSource many e-learning courses for our surviving family members about topics that may pertain to them. But is there some place that we can send our survivors to learn more about the TRICARE for Life program that might be similar?
You know, I love podcasts in all different forms, and TRICARE actually has some wonderful TRICAsts. They call it TRICARE for Life 101, a podcast series. It really helps. You know, I say guide retiree service members or their eligible family members turning 65 to understand the benefits. It's a great series, but I find it's very helpful for the young people too, because if they have people that are asking questions, you know, you're visiting them during the holidays, you can refer them to the podcast, but more importantly, you might even want to listen to it so you can better help some of your family members and friends that are asking these questions. This is a gem, the TRICARE for Life 101 podcast series. Lisa.
Thank you so much for that information, Mark. So, Medicare is another topic that seems complicated. I know when I hear that word, I'm like, oh my goodness. So, what is the eligibility age for Medicare, and what Medicare options is one eligible for?
Okay, we're talking about Medicare here. I didn't say Social Security. So I want to premise that. When are you eligible for Medicare? You become eligible for Medicare at 65, the first of the month when you turn 65. So your birthday's April 20th. It might be April 1st, regardless of when you claim Social Security. So the question you phrased, Lisa, I really appreciate. What is Medicare eligibility age? In essence, 65. Now, there's some exceptions to the rules. You see them out there. But basically, if the key thing to realize is if you're already receiving Social Security when you turn 65, you're automatically enrolled in Medicare Part A and B, unless you tell them you don't want that. Most people say, yeah, but B comes with the premium. We'll talk about that. Now, if you're not enrolled, you can manually enroll in B, and they give you a window 3 months prior to your birthday month, 3 months afterward into B. We'll talk about that later on. But what's the magic age for Medicare? 65. What's the magic age for Social Security? We'll talk about that later. Lisa.
So, what about those Medicare options?
I get questions in this all the time. You know, I teach at a university part-time, and this is how I explain to the students. I think my video's on so you can see it. A is like for the hospital. Hospital benefits. It's usually premium-free coverage, by the way. If you have enough quarters or your spouse enough quarters, A is free. So at 65, it makes sense to have it. It's complimentary. It's free. B, that B looks like a P, like what a doctor might have on their smock. So Part B, medical insurance. It has a monthly premium. We'll talk about that. It covers doctor services, outpatient care, preventative services. So Medicare options are two types, A and B. Those are the types. Lisa.
So, Mark, what does the term Medicare entitlement mean?
Basically, Medicare entitlement is one, you're 65, so you're eligible. There are also exceptions that will allow you to get it earlier. People with disabilities acknowledged by Medicare to be such, people with end-stage renal disease, ALS, Lou Gehrig's, but that's the bottom line. But I'd like to summarize what we just shared on the prior slides. We have the automatic enrollment. If you're getting Social Security, you're going to be putting A and B. We have the manual enrollment, and that would be if you're maybe not drawing Social Security yet, off your spouse's record or your record, you're just not getting it for some reasons. We're going to talk about that on part 2. Your manual enrollment. Hey, I'd like to get in. If you want to get in. A, you want. For sure. I mean, it's complimentary. B, we'll talk about. But in general, if you're not working, yeah, you do want it, because TRICARE is going to assume you have it when they adjudicate a claim, because they go underneath it. TRICARE for Life, if you're in it, they go underneath it. It's secondary. So you have that. Again, Part A is free. You don't pay a premium if you had enough quarters that were done, and most of the survivors I work with do. Part B, you're going to pay a premium. We'll talk about that. More details, I give you a reference. Lisa.
So, Mark, you know, my friends who are over 65, they keep telling me the importance of taking steps for Medicare right before I'm 65, or they talk about this penalty. So, what do we all need to know about age 65 so we're not penalized?
Yeah, if you don't pay for B right away, you get a few buys. You get you basically, if you're not paying for B because you have other health care elsewhere and it's a qualifying health care, yeah, then they'll give you a buy. But if you are retired and don't pay for B and you delay it, there's a significant penalty. Let's say you wait for 2 years to start paying B. Hey, it's $200 and change. I don't want to pay it. It's about a 20% penalty, not for 1 year, for the rest of your life. So this is important stuff to kind of grasp. Now, if you're working, that you basically, you get a buy card. If you then, when you stop working, you can show, that, hey, the reason I knew B when I could have, when I was 65, is because I was working and I had qualifying health insurance, and then you won't get that penalty. But if you're retired and not in B, problematic on two fronts. One, if you have TRICARE For Life, it's going to assume you had B, and they will adjudicate, which means pay the claim as if you had B. But if you don't have B, there'll be some unpaid bills. Number two, to get back into B, if you don't do it on time, there's a penalty. So signing up early ensures your coverage starts on time. I tell people, I know you can do it on your birthday. You can actually do it. Go back to that example of April 20th. You can do it on April 1 if you want, but I'm going to suggest do it 3 months earlier for that effective date. It's your choice how you want to do it, but the earlier the better. Lisa.
Mark, I understand that everyone must pay Medicare premiums. So how much does that cost?
Great. It's gone up pretty fast over the years. First of all, Part A has a scary price tag on it, but almost every survivor I work with, their family had enough quarters and they qualified to get Part A coverage. Remember, the A, complimentary. So I'm not overly worried about that. What I am concerned is with Part B, because yes, they'll probably pull it out. You can double check, pull it out of your account. And yes, log into your account, see if everything's going the way you think it should be, your Social Security account. You can do that with one of your logins that we talked about. But the Part B requires a premium. Now, if it comes out of a Social Security check, great. But some people are not drawing on Social Security yet. So you got to manually make that payment. And again, if you don't have an outside job, but you're kind of delaying collecting on the Social Security, we have a few people that do, for reasons we'll cover. You got to make manual arrangements for that 202.90, and yeah, it's got to be paid. Otherwise, you get a late payment. So that's kind of the premium. It's 202.90. If you're earning a larger income, it's actually higher than that. So be aware. You know, this is interesting. Medicare C, Medicare Advantage. If you're doing that, that's up to the vendor. I'm going to talk about that only because we get a lot of questions. What's Medicare Advantage? The reason it's C, it used to be called Medicare Complete. So we'll talk about that. And Part D stands for drugs. Premiums vary by the plan. Again, we'll talk about, do you really need a C or D? We'll talk in a moment. Premiums are only one part of the puzzle. What we look is deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance. And for more information, I'm giving you some of the great up-to-date resources. Some of the sheets are within the last 24 months. It's been pretty robust. Lisa.
So, Mark, we do have a question from the audience. We have a surviving spouse, and she is currently getting TRICARE Select and always will. So why would she want Medicare? Her TRICARE is only $15 a month.
Double check that she's getting TRICARE Select post 65. She can call her vendor, be it TRICARE Humana or call TRICARE TriWest, and ask, hey, I just want to double check how long you're going to keep me on the rolls. The odds are when you turn 65, there's something unique there that you are going to be transitioned to the TRICARE For Life, which is not TRICARE East, not TRICARE West. So call them up, see what your date is, double check that, see if that you're in a unique situation or not. You can put in the chat box your contact. I'll do a three-way call with you if you so desire, or that would be fine, because I'll learn in the same process. But usually people transition at 65, and that's why it's important to make your B premium one way or another. Appreciate that. Great question.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chris. And so so what we've learned is that there's a Medicare Part A, Medicare Part B, and so forth. So what does each letter mean? And what does each letter mean when it comes to how does each letter play a potential specific role in health coverage? That's a mouthful.
Oh, but it's such a common question that we're getting, and I really appreciate that. And the way you phrased it is so eloquent. Again, A is your hospital. I have A. I'm over 65. I'm A. Why? It was free. And I was very grateful for A because something happened a while back. And when I had to use the services, what my primary insurance didn't cover, it was secondary. Now, because I'm working full time, my primary was primary and Medicare was secondary. When I retire, and I have no intentions of doing that, I love what I do. I'll be doing this at least another 5 years, I hope. But basically, when I retire, Medicare is going to be secondary. It'll still cover the hospital, what my primary plan, I'm sorry, Medicare will become primary. Medicare will become primary when I retire. Medicare will be primary when I retire, and then the insurance I have is secondary. For those in the military, it would be TRICARE For Life. For those in the civilian world, it would be whatever they have, would be secondary, a supplement plan or a plan they get from their work. If they're a government employee, they might just want to keep the plan they have. I give you an example. Blue Cross Basic is commonly used, partly because they'll even subsidize what you're paying for your B, give you $800 and change a month. So the bottom line is, while you're still time, if you're full-time working post 65, your plan is primary and Medicare is secondary A. B is secondary if you pay for the premium. Flip the coin. When you retire, it's a tongue twister. When you retire, your Medicare will now be primary, and what you have here will be secondary, depending what you have as secondary, be it a supplement plan, a government plan, if you're a federal employee, or company plan, or a TRICARE plan. We'll talk more. And then Medicare C is the complete plan. That's a whole interesting thing that we're going to have to talk about because people get inundated with mail on it, and Medicare D. Again, where did I get all this information from? I went to Medicare.gov and Medicare for You to really get a good grasp of this. What's primary and what's secondary? And that is a general rule of thumb. Thank you, Lisa.
So, Mark, another question. What are Medigap plans and what do they cover?
In the secular world, many people do not have the opportunity, and you may have noticed this maybe for your parents, they don't have an opportunity to have TRICARE for Life. And in many situations, they work for a company that doesn't offer any plan that they can take with them. Now, government employees usually can, but secular world, not as much. So they want to buy a Medigap plan. Medicare doesn't cover a whole lot in the spectrum of things if you have a big bill. Oh, yeah, it'll pay 80% of some physician bills, but they can add up, and you've got to pay the other 20, and there's a deductible. Supplement will cover and go underneath Medicare A and B. It's called Medigap. Now, Medigap plans are also known and marketed as Medicare supplement plans. They're private insurance policy for the gaps. If you have TRICARE for Life, technically, and I'll reiterate this in a few minutes, you probably don't need it, but you're going to be marketed it for a while. Now, to get a Medigap plan, you need Medicare A and B, and then you buy one of the options. Now, you're going to love this. What does each Medigap plan cover? I did this the other day when I taught a class. I can't resist. Since I know 2/3 of the class, allow me. The Medigap plans are numerous. It goes like this. There's an A, B, C, D, F, G, K, L, M, N, and they're okay. So that's kind of the supplement plans that are out there. Most popular, hands down, is G, maybe an F, G, probably a little more than, those are the two popular ones. And they each cover slightly different things. So if you're going to get a Medigap, probably a G, they're going to be almost identical where you get it from. You just work with the carrier that has the best customer service. But again, I don't think if you have TRICARE for Life, you're going to need this. If you have TRICARE for Life, or if you have CHAMP VA, it's carrying you in your post-retirement years and over 65. You really don't need it. But are you going to be marketed? Yes. So anyhow, Lisa.
All right. So next slide on there. So just to reiterate then, Mark, what you're saying is that we don't need a Medigap plan if we have TRICARE for Life.
Yeah.
All right. Next slide.
So basically, TRICARE, as you well pointed, Lisa, is acting like a Medigap plan. Now, it's not a Medigap plan, but it's acting just like one. So you really don't need now. Once you have Medicare A and B, Medicare pays first, TRICARE for Life pays second. TRICARE for Life covers most out-of-pocket costs that Medicare doesn't, such as co-payments, co-insurance deduction. I had a lady from Utah call me last night. She was frustrated that she couldn't get something covered. And she says, TRICARE's not covering. I said, How much is Medicare covering it? Are they covering 80%? If Medicare's covering 80, the odds are they're going to pick up the other 20. Oh, I never pushed the claim to Medicare. Medicare's your primary carrier. You're retired. So we ended that on a positive note, and I have a hunch it'll work. It's just she didn't push the claim for the durable good that probably will be approved to the right vendor. So Medicare first, then TRICARE. TRICARE will, and TRICARE for Life. TRICARE for Life will see what Medicare covered, and if it's something that that's coverable, will supplement underneath the Medicare. This is coordination. I call it wraparound. It's getting that type of wraparound you would get with a Medigap policy, except you got TRICARE for Life at no cost to you. TRICARE for Life is complimentary. You paid the price to get it, but there's no premium cost. Whereas a lot of these Medigap policies, oh my word, it's hundreds of dollars. You are having a significant savings by getting TRICARE for Life. Again, people will market to you. I want you to be careful. TRICARE for Life also includes prescription drug plans. I mentioned this D for drugs. You're going to be marketed when you get to this age category. Your relatives are probably being inundated with all these D plans. Oh, we cover this, we cover this. I was like, well, what do you need a D for? Because you have TRICARE for Life includes prescription drug. And the last I heard, people are pretty happy with that, with the TRICARE for Life prescription drug plan. You technically don't need it. So why spend the money for some? And some of these D plans are like $50 a month. No. So why adding Medigap might not help? Well, some people say, I want to buy it. They're concerned that TRICARE won't cover something. I'm saying, well, every case is different. There's no one shoe that fits it all, but think twice before paying a premium for a gap policy. Think twice about paying a premium for a D policy. Unless you have some very specific needs not covered by Medicare or TRICARE, like some overseas situations and niche services, TRICARE for Life, falling underneath Medicare, is probably all you need.
That sounds wonderful, Mark. Now, I've heard of Medicare Advantage plans, but what are those?
We called them complete plans, Medicare Advantage. It was an alternative to the original Medicare that bundles the hospital, A and B. You still have to pay the B premium. And what you're saying, I will not file a claim under the A or B. I'll go to an Advantage complete plan. And the complete plans are marketed heavily. They include prescription drug coverage, Part D, into a single plan coordinated by a private insurance company approved by Medicare. Now, the key features of Medicare Advantage is it's all in one. It combines A, B, and D into a complete plan. Sounds good? Many plans offer vision, dental, free hearing plans. Some have low premiums, cost control, limited doctors you can go to. Some will reimburse you for the B premium you had to pay, but you have to go straight to this limited panel of providers. But there's some rocking things about it. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But Medicare Advantage is your complete plan. Now, follow-up question that you think about, Lisa.
Well, so if one has TRICARE for Life, then do they need or even want to have Medicare Part C or Medicare Advantage?
On the next slide, that is really well pointed out. If you have TRICARE for Life, you generally don't need Medicare C, Medicare Advantage. Some people say they do it because they want to get reimbursed for that $200, $202 they're paying for the Part B. Every situation is different. I'm going to be candid. There might be a place for you to use one of the Advantage carriers in some parts of the country. It might make sense. But in most cases, being forced into a limited panel of providers, not my cup of tea. In most cases, TRICARE for Life plus original Medicare A and B gives you already comprehensive coverage for most survivors. Yes, you still have to pay the B premium. I'm aware of that, the 200 and change. But this combo has seamlessly been working since Medicare pays first and TRICARE for Life pays second, covering most out-of-pocket costs like deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance. It gives you the coverage without needing a separate supplement or Advantage plan. Now, I'm never negative in what I do. I want to be things on the positive light. But Medicare Advantage plans combined with TRICARE, it gets clunky. That's my best word. Because there could be potential complications with Medicare Advantage Part C. See, Medicare Advantage plans replace original Medicare. You still pay the premium for B. and have to qualify for A. But they pay if the plan, the plan replaces original Medicare, which can disrupt how TRICARE for Life coordinates your benefits. TRICARE for Life does not automatically coordinate with Medicare Advantage plans the way it does for original Medicare. So now you're doing manual claims, manual processing, manual paperwork. It may be required to get reimbursed. I don't know. In my retirement years, I like things simple. That's me. And manually do all this. Who needs that? Some Advantage plans, including Part D drug coverage, may conflict with the TRICARE pharmaceutical benefits as well. So, a personal opinion, because every situation is different, unless you have a specific reason, such as a local Advantage plan offering unique health benefits, you can't get elsewhere. TRICARE for Life plus original Medicare A and B is usually a best setup. It's simple, practical, designed to work together. Lisa.
So, Mark, does TRICARE or the Department of War market Medicare Advantage plans?
Many people think that. No, they don't. Respectfully, Medicare Advantage plans are marketed by private insurance companies approved by Medicare, not TRICARE or the Department of War. So, basically, these companies you will see marketing from United Healthcare, Humana, Aetna, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and others depending on your location. However, TRICARE for Life is designed to work with original Medicare, A and B, not Medicare Advantage. So, you can enroll in your TRICARE Medicare Advantage plan if you have TRICARE for Life, but it's not seamless. So if you like to file claims manually to get TRICARE for Life to reimburse you for covered services, it's cumbersome. I'm not recommending it necessarily, but just be cautious. They do offer extra perks, but they can also complicate how TRICARE for Life works with your coverage. Lisa.
And a member of our audience, Mark, says that with TRICARE for Life and Medicare, sometimes TRICARE for Life offers benefits that Medicare doesn't. You pay the deductible and copay. So do investigate a denial of coverage and make sure you ask if the procedure is covered by Medicare before you agree to the procedure. Do you agree with that?
That's excellent logic. Excellent logic. Let's have our next workshop we do together. That's a great presentation. Great comment. Thanks for adding that to the chat box.
Thank you, Kathy. And so I have another question for you, Mark. So what if one chooses to still work at age 65 and they have employer-sponsored health insurance? Do they still have to sign up for Medicare?
Technically, no. They would get a buy, and then they just have to, when they really lose the job, they say, okay, let me go into Medicare B and waive the penalty for being late. Now, it would be smart to go into A right away. It's complementary. I'm over 65. I have A. I decline B. My wife's over 65. We decide to pay the B for her. Looking at the health plan, seeing what B covers, the B premium. So we're spending $2,400 a year for her B, even though she has health care, but her health care has a lot of gaps. So we're thrilled with it. Everything is an individual decision. But if you're still employed and have employer health insurance, you might be able to delay enrolling in B if you have a policy that's considered a qualifying policy without penalty. Now, whether you delay depends on your employer size. If it's a small employer, there are a few unique things that we can talk about. But keep in mind, coordination issues on claims with Medicare and TRICARE for Life might still occur. So let TRICARE for Life know if you're not doing Medicare that you have a qualifying plan because you're working, so they can put that in their systems and kind of see what you have. There's so many what if scenarios. But A, grab it. It's complimentary at 65. B, for some it may make sense. Part of me, I'm kicking myself for not doing the B when I did it. I get a second chance when I really, really retire. Although in the first year, there's some windows that I can change my mind, and I am going to do that. But every situation's different. So talking to TRICARE in Life in advance may be wise.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. So you talked a bit about Medicare Part D. And so when we go to the next slide, does one need to have it if they have TRICARE for Life? And I know you answered that question, but could you please remind our audience?
You can add Part D for prescription drugs or choose a Medicare Advantage D, you can do that as soon as you have B. I don't think you're going to need it. But yes, now be careful. If you enroll, if your heart is set to do a D and you don't do it when you're first eligible for a B and take the B, there's actually a penalty on that too, a late penalty. So be careful if you want D. But let's see what other questions are. I want to come back to D in a few minutes.
That sounds good, Mark. So let's go to the next slide. Mark, I always hear the terms Medicare and Medicaid, and it can be so confusing, using the wrong term. So can you tell us the difference?
Okay.
And that'll be on the next slide, please.
Okay. Yep. Let's do that. And let me take the question you also brought on Medicare D. On Medicare D, basically, I don't believe that most people with TRICARE for Life are going to need it because they got stellar coverage already with TRICARE for Life. Now, taking your question on Medicaid, I appreciate it. Medicaid is, in essence, medical insurance for those near the poverty line. Most people get an SBP or even a VA benefit. I got news for you. You're probably not at the poverty line for Medicaid. But there are many exceptions to the rules. First of all, Medicaid is needs-based coverage. Now, in some cases, if you qualify for Medicaid and you're on Medicare, Medicaid of your state, depending on state funding, might pay some of the premium for your B. Well, that's nice. But Medicaid, in essence, is needs-based. Many people confuse Medicare with Medicaid. How do I make the distinction? Go back to the teacher way I remember it. What are the last three letters in Medicaid? AID. Medicaid is for low-income people who need the aid, and it varies in eligibility benefits by state you are in. I like the resources I put there on Medicaid, put it out there. Medicare, Medicaid, coordination of benefits are out there. I doubt many people here are eligible for Medicaid. If you are, fine. One thing is check to see if you're paying a Medicare premium for B, if your Medicaid of the state can help you with that. Lisa.
So one of the members of our audience, Nancy, she's talking about CHAMP VA. CHAMP VA requires both A and B or C, and CHAMP VA, just like TRICARE for Life, becomes your drug plan. What do you think about that, Mark?
Yeah, very, very correct. But I will tell you, even with CHAMP VA, if you have the C, it gets clunky. So be careful with that. Some people say that they like the saving and it's worth their time. If it's working for you, I'm happy. But A, B with TRICARE, A, B with CHAMP VA, as your guest pointed out, is a wonderful concept. And you're right, you probably don't need D.
That sounds good. So, Mark, we've talked about what happens at age 65. What TRICARE options are available for surviving spouses that are under age 65 when the 3-year, they have that 3-year transitional survivor benefit period when that ends?
This is a very interesting concept, and people don't realize that the children get complimentary in terms of premium through age 21, 23, if they are documented in DEERS as in school. Yay! But the spouses, the complimentary in terms of premium, or what we call enrollment fee, is only for 3 years. Now, it's still a lot. You don't find that in the secular world. But starting the 3rd year with TRICARE Medical, there is a cost. You can pick up the phone even 2 months earlier and tell TRICARE, hey, when my 3-year anniversary, if the no enrollment fee program expires, I'd like to stay with TRICARE. Here's how we'll make payment arrangements. Now, these are annual fees, not monthly fees, but they're annual fees. TRICARE Prime, and it all depends on what group you're in. It depends when your loved one entered the military. But basically, if you're in Group A or Group B, bottom line is you're going to be spending for an annual enrollment fee, $400 or $400 and change roughly. You see the numbers there. $381.96 for Group A, $462.96 for Group A for this current year. But that's for Prime, and many people like Prime. I have some people that like Select. They like that flexibility. Fine. Group A, $186, but Group B, look at that. It's quite high. So I ask people, are you in a Prime service area? And they say, well, but it's not that great. I said, okay. Just so you're aware of the difference in costs, not only in the enrollment fee, but look at the difference between Prime and Select on the deductible and a few other things. They say, I can live with it. I want the choice of carriers. It's interesting. If you're right near a military base, most people, if they're under 65, like sticking with Prime or where a lot of service members are. The further you get out, now becomes your choice, prime or select, because you might say the accessibility to the doctors you want within a reasonable time is not there, but look at the cost difference. And then if you go really far out, it could be select's the only option that's available to you. By the way, after the 3-year period, got to be candid, the TRICARE Prime Remote is not an option for the surviving spouse, just for the children. But just to be candid on that. But the bottom line is you have 2 options as you approach age 3 years. 3 years as you approach the 3-year mark. Prime, select. There's a premium for each, all depending on when your loved one entered the military. So call them, because if you don't call them, you might not have the TRICARE just sitting there for you when you'd like it to be. And if you, for a while, kind of ignore that, you might have to wait for the next open enrollment, because it's no longer a special enrollment that you can just hop in. A special enrollment. If you don't do it within the first short period of time, like 2 months, so I tell people, call 2 months in advance, get it done as early as possible. Lisa.
Mark, that's a great reminder, especially about that open enrollment, because you can't just sign up just when you want to. There's these rules we always got to follow. But that brings me to another question. What about TRICARE Dental? How long do surviving spouses have this benefit?
Yeah, a lot of people confuse TRICARE Dental complimentary in terms of enrollment fee for the dental for the children and the spouses. So for the children, 21, 23, if they're documented in school and years. Great. For the spouses, they get the TRICARE for 3 years. After 3 years, the TRICARE Dental is not available for the spouses. However, the good news is the voluntary dental plan through BenEFeds is, and they can actually call BenEFeds up. If you want to do it 31 days prior to your 3-year angel anniversary, go ahead. And you can, there is a cost share, but it's a very fairly priced, very fair premium. And you have many types of plans that you can select. Now, some people, because if they were on United Concordia Dental already, they want to pick a plan that's United Concordia Dental. And you have variations of the plans, good, better, and best. Some people phrase it that way. But you have a lot of flexibility and options. Yes, you got to make payment arrangements. Yes, you got to pay a premium, annual enroll or a monthly enrollment fee. But the TRICARE voluntary dental plan available through BenEFeds is a great option for the spouses. I would encourage people, put that on your calendar, 31 days prior to the 3-year mark. If you desire a dental plan, give them a ring and enroll in the voluntary dental plan. It's very similar to enrolling in the voluntary vision plan. Actually, it's the same vendor that's coordinating it, BenEFeds. Same thing. By the way, to log into BenEFeds, it's new. It just started. There's a secure way to log in, as I mentioned earlier. So you'll need a new password to do that if you didn't, or way to get in if you didn't do it in the past. So I like people getting into the Fed VIP. I try to remind them, if you miss the deadline, have no fear. Just like for those that for some reason didn't go into TRICARE after the 3rd year, pay the premium and miss the deadline for special enrollment, or people that miss the special enrollment to get into the dental, have no fear. There is an annual open enrollment. Historically, it's the 2nd Monday of November for 4 weeks. Again, my big clarification to children, surviving children can remain in TRICARE dental plan, survivor benefit plan until age 21 or 23 if full-time students. A question that I know I get all the time, I'm going to beat people to the punchline on this. Can a child extend the dental beyond 23? Is there like TRICARE Dental for Life? No, there's not. Lisa.
All right, so let's go on to that, our next slide. So just as a reminder, this is we talked about when can spouses enroll in FedVIP dental after their TRICARE dental ends. So please take note of that you have 60 days to enroll or make changes. So the next 2 slides, Mark, you talked about benefits, dental options. What are they and how much do those cost?
It's palatable. Let me just tell you this 12 dental plan options that are available, from Delta to Blue Cross, FEP Dental, MetLife, United Concordia. Each carrier has different levels. And you compare premiums by going to the website and see what they are. Now, if you're not in the plan right now and you kind of want to have an idea what you're going to do in November for a 1/1/2027 effective date, you can get a feel of those rates. Lisa.
So, Mark, you mentioned TRICARE Vision, or you talked about Vision, this benefit. So does TRICARE cover vision as well?
Yeah, so we got to look at this. Typical ranges for it. FedVip Dental and FedVip Vision are two totally different programs. Like what I showed on this slide, so we don't get confused or scared. When you see voluntary insurance plan, the standard plan would be 30 to 55 per month self-only. The higher option's a little higher, but you get a lot of quality things on there. And they're ballpark. You're going to go to the official website to see it. But take a peek at the next slide, if you don't mind, Mercedes. You know, and you look at the TRICARE Vision program. TRICARE covers vision, but you might want to supplement for $6 to $10 a month. Let me tell you why. TRICARE Prime covers the exam in most cases. Good. TRICARE Select doesn't cover the exam. So if you're in TRICARE Select, oh yeah, you probably want the benefits voluntary vision plan. Now, here's another thing. Eyeglasses. If you have eyeglasses, they're not covered by either plan. There are a few exceptions that are out there. I'm well aware of it, but in general, routine, no, they're not. So I tell people you probably want a voluntary plan. It's inexpensive. Which plan to pick? Find out where you plan to get your glasses and see which ones they take. Then you pick it based on that. Lisa.
All right. So we go into the next slide. You know, Mark, you mentioned those terms FedVip and benefits again, benefits. And so when can one enroll in vision through benefits? When do they do this?
It's kind of similar to the dental. Actually, it is similar. The vision plan, the voluntary vision plan, you can enroll when you have a qualifying special enrollment. Let's say you were working and now, especially because of the casualty, you decide to raise the children and not work. But you had a vision plan at your work site, but you're going to lose the vision plan when you work. That's a qualifying event. Now you can come into the voluntary vision plan under special enrollment. So let's say you're hitting coming on the 3-year anniversary. You got to make some changes because fine, that's a special enrollment. Special enrollment historically is a month prior, 31 days prior for the voluntary vision and dental plan, actually 2 months after. They'll work with you within that window. I do things as early as possible, but that's called special enrollment. Then they can put you in usually the first day of the month following, based on when you make that phone call or when you're coming in for an effective date because of what you're losing, because that's why you're coming in on special enrollment features. Open season, again, people that apply the second Monday in November, again, 4 weeks to get in, the coverage doesn't begin until January 1 of the first year. So that's the main time when a lot of people will enroll or make plans. So for the outlay of $8 to $12 for the vision, I'm pretty pleased with it. I just picked up my vision, my eyeglasses, and they have all the foo-foo stuff on them, and I'm very pleased with them. But they were $500 with all that glare-free stuff and the frames, and like $500. Glasses have gone up. But then I showed my vision card, and I believe I paid $20 plus tax. I'll tell you, that was the best $10 premium a month I ever did pay for the vision plan. Anyhow, little levity there. Lisa.
Well, as an Army retiree, I experienced the same thing, Mark. So I am all for that vision insurance as well. So what healthcare insurances, now I'm got insurance on the brain, but what healthcare issues should military survivors consider when approaching age 65 or beyond?
Yeah, and for the younger people here, if you have relatives in the same boat, I hope this workshop was helpful for you as well, this segment. It's a topic that I've been with the Survivor Outreach Program for 18 years, and we've never really formally addressed this. And so when we got the feedback from you saying this is a topic you want to cover, yeah, thank you. But let me summarize what we did in this segment. TRICARE For Life acts as secondary to Medicare and covers most costs. Survivors may still face prescription drug copays if used in civilian pharmacies. They might have dental and vision expenses, but that can be addressed with the voluntary benefits FedVip program. Okay, so what I think is you can work just very nicely with A, B, TRICARE For Life, and perhaps some FedVip programs. The coordination of benefits. Survivors must ensure that Medicare is billed first, followed by TRICARE For Life. So that a friendly reminder, make sure that they have both information when you see a provider. Any disruption, such as enrolling in a Medicare Advantage plan, may work for you financially because they might reimburse some of the $200 a month, but just be sensitive to the complication that can come. Now, a key issue is navigating plan options available for military survivors. Whether to enroll in Medicap plans, again, there's some options. You know, the G, if you're going to do it, but I'm saying why? Because you got TRICARE For Life. Whether enroll Medicare Advantage, it could be a cost saving, but remember, it's a network that's tight in many cases. And it's usually not needed with TRICARE For Life. And I'm so glad we had this opportunity to access dental and vision through FedVIP. And the reminder for those not 65, if you're a surviving spouse, you know, approaching that 3rd year anniversary, pick up the phone, call TRICARE East or West, and also call FedVIP or try to log online. Try means you're probably going to have to reset your password to do that. I hope that's helpful. Lisa.
That is so good, Mark. So we want to take a moment and share in the chat where you're joining. Wait, we've already had that one.
Yeah, but if people didn't get a chance, give them a second chance.
Absolutely. So tell us who you are, where you are.
Here's another chance to do that.
And so forth. Yes.
And
we do
have
have a question. We do have another question. So is eye coverage available for CHAMP VA folks? Do you know?
They have a separate type of voluntary set of programs. So you'd contact CHAMP VA. Their dental program almost looks like it's the same vendor. I never asked. But they look very similar.
That sounds good. And we have one more question. Do you have time to discuss IRMA or how Medicare premiums are based on income?
Again, a lot of that is also going to depend on the, yeah, I could. Here's the bottom line. Call me offline. I'll tell you. And this is a real concern. Medicare B premiums are based on your income of 2 years ago. Yes. So if they'll look at your income, and if the income is well over $100,000 for that year, your $202 is not going to be 202. Depending on how income he is, that B premium could be like 500 and change. So I brace you for that. So it could be significantly higher. So that to me is an important consideration. Some people that are taking advantage of the new feature that are still working in the federal government of flipping some of their TSP to Roth TSP. And if you're around 63 years old and you're doing it, think this through, because that'll be increased income when you're 63. Now, when you're 65 and you want to pay your B premium, it'll be based on 2 years ago, and your adjusted gross income be well over $100,000, depending on what you converted. So think that through very carefully, because the B premium could be in the 500 range instead of the 200 range, depending on your adjusted gross income from 2 years ago. Now, you can always write to them, say it was a unique situation. Please don't penalize me. Tell them what you did. You can do that, and probably they'll work with you. That's kind of tough. And those people that have a lot of money in the later years and 401k plans and TSP plans, and I have that forced distribution in the later years, all that extra income coming in, yeah, it could bump them into a higher bracket. My own father, when he was 94, he had forced distributions from his the equivalent of TSP, and it bumped him in a higher bracket because he was single. So his bracket was moderate. If he was married, it would have been higher, but he was single, as most survivors are. And he had to pay way over the standard B premium because he was taking forced distributions from his pension. So one-on-one, give me a call. We can go over it. IRMA is a concern because if you do get a blip of income, you are going to have to pay more than that $200. I'm glad that person brought it up. It's one of my favorite topics. On this sheet, I gave you a couple reminders. I always give reminders. This is the HART Act. If you're still within the 1 year of when you started receiving the money, you actually have 1 year from when you got the death gratuity. You have 1 year from when you got the SGLI. And if you got in 36 installments, 1 year from each installment to put money into a Roth IRA for tax-free growth. I'm a big fan of Roth IRA. Even if you miss the 1 year deadline, you can still, if you're working, still max out your Roth IRAs at work. Your Roth IRAs on your own and by payroll deduction at work. You can both do a Roth 401k TSP and a Roth IRA. Other things we talked on our past workshops, I want to remind you because they kind of link to a lot of these programs, the Spouse Education and Career Opportunity Program, Online Survivor Benefit Report that Jen talked about, the video again that you will see in the past broadcast. And as Brian mentioned, just set your bandwidth pretty strong. You will have a wonderful presentation that you will be able to see that Jen did in February on this series. Social Security programs, there's some nice stuff on Military OneSource. The online reports I encourage you to get from Social Security, log in and run your reports. And you also have military financial and legal resources. And I like the financial resources of the Office of Financial Readiness. Lisa.
Mark, I also do too. And we even have even more. I mean, just as a reminder, if you want to watch past series, we have the link there. We have information about DIC, which also will link to our big partners, which is the Department of Veterans Affairs, enhancing the well-being of our service members and families landing page. And that talks about, personal finance as well. And then we have in general resources such as .gov and .mil web pages. And what's important too is when you go to a .gov or a .mil, those are safe places to go. But Mark, talk about the spending planning worksheet. Tell us a little bit about that.
I use this all the time. FinRed has a couple of spending plan worksheets on their website. They really help people to kind of budget themselves. And you print it out. You might even have a family member that's struggling a little bit of managing their money. They can see where the money is coming in and coming out. If you combine that, if they do have access to an OSBR report, as well as children that are over 18 often do, print out cash flow, show what's coming in, show the extra benefits coming in. It might be the Fry Scholarship, understand that. Then plug numbers into a planning worksheet and really develop a nice budget. Planning for the future is often based on budgeting for the current. So that's what I find is very useful. Also, for those in thrift savings plan, a lot of people are saying, hey, I'm a surviving spouse. My money's still at TSP. What should I do? There's nothing wrong if you're a surviving spouse of keeping it there. But I ask you, can you log into your account? Oh, another password. Can you log into your account? And the other thing is, are you comfortable with the asset selection that you have selected or that is defaulted for you? Kind of look at that. I encourage people to look on that account as well.
Thank you so much. That's good information I didn't know about. How about if we go to that next slide and here's some additional links. Go back.
Yep. Just a summary. I had to bring one up because the Survivor Finances, the Legal Affairs, Mil Life has some nice things out there. The counseling page from Military OneSource. The free tax services, MilTax. I encourage people to download that software, plug in the numbers. If you have a question, you can give them a call. Great resource for taxes. And if you have any issues with that, let the office, let us know. Let Lisa and the team know. They want to hear from you. And Brian and Lisa, monitor that Q&As that you put in. If there's a hiccup for some reason, it just could be not good communication somewhere. So if you have a hiccup and you're not getting the support that you think you deserve it. And it could be as simple as just a misunderstanding. So they can probably remove the barrier. On the Intel for Tax Season from MilTax Consultant, they have a really nice podcast that's out there, gives great insight on doing the taxes. I also remind people that there are 3 types of taxes that I want people to be focused on. I did spend time on taxes in one of our past podcasts, but the 3 things: 1, federal tax; 2, if applicable, state taxes. And that might be even on 1099 income or money that you don't have in a Roth IRA. And the third one is if you are a service-connected surviving spouse, please check that you're getting the property tax abatement. Some states have it, some don't. I live in Missouri. We don't for our surviving spouses. Illinois, it's almost the whole tax. So look at your state, and many states have revised their rules literally within the last 36 months. So for years, you might not have been eligible, and now you may be eligible. So double check that, with your state, county tax assessor, that if you're not getting a property tax abatement, that you're taking care of it. This is great. Lisa.
Yep. And I believe like at Fairfax County or in Virginia, definitely check because I know there was some state legislation moving about. Um, Before we go on and we go into some more questions, Mark, I think it is important to know about our audience. I just want to do a shout out to Jen from SOS Dallas, and a shout out to Tori, who's in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm in Texas too, Tori. And then we have Trisha. She's from Massachusetts. And first symposium since just returning to college at age 55. So hooah to you, Trisha. That's awesome. And then we have Wanda Butler. She's from Fort Jackson. I've been at Fort Jackson when I was in the Army, and she's there with Deidre. And then we have Ramonda from the Navy, Hampton Roads. And then we have Kathy, and she's from San Diego, California. And we have Chris. She says, thank you. And we have Nate, and he says, Mark Dunlap, you are the man. And Chris is actually a surviving spouse and military family. I'm tongue twisted again, and military and family program specialist in Montana. So thank you so very much for joining. And let me see if I have other people that I that I have here that I do a little shout out. So thank you very much. But it just shows you that we have a lot of different folks that have joined us. And so this is exciting news. So let's go ahead. And are there any other questions? There's 2 questions that came about. Well, it says, thanks, Mark. Oh, and we have Cheryl. She's with MOAA with the Surviving Spouse Liaison Office, or she is the Surviving Spouse Liaison.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much.
That's
All
great.
righty.
Well, this is we finished section 1, and that was Medicare. I brace you. I said it would probably take me 45 minutes to do it, and we used every bit of that. But it's great. If there are follow-up questions, just pop them to the team, and they'll float it down. Thank you for putting up with this, and I hope you found it helpful. Based on the thumbs ups, I think we hit a chord by listening to the audience and addressing a topic that they wanted.
Absolutely. So now let's go into another. I think it's a little bit complicated, at least it is for me, when we're talking about, Social Security. And so, so what financial considerations, Mark, should a surviving spouse consider when determining when they want to start receiving Social Security?
It's all over the board. First of all, there's a great podcast that's available at Military OneSource. It covers some considerations. The default when you see an OSBR report will be age 60 to draw on a spouse's benefit. And if you're not working, you're a spouse, and most of your life you were not working, that might make sense. The money is good. But we're going to talk about all these options. Every situation's different. I worked with a survivor at the Social Security office a while back, and we sat down. Those were the days when getting in-person appointments was easy. Now a lot of it's telephonic. And after about 25 different what-if scenarios, they got the picture. There's so many different permutations of when to start drawing your Social Security. Do you draw it on your name, your spouse's name? Do you flip at some point or not flip? It's a lot. I'll try to summarize it as best I can, but there are many options for when to begin drawing a survivor Social Security benefit. One may choose to start at 60 if not working. Not a bad idea in many cases, and that being the default of My Army benefit makes sense. But it's important to evaluate Social Security options and weigh the trade-offs. For example, if an individual is collecting on a spouse's Social Security at a later age, such as 70, that might make sense to flip to their own record. We'll talk about this and not stay on the option you elected at 60. We will try to explain this in the next segment. First question, Lisa.
Right. So what are blackout periods? What does that mean? And what is that all about?
Well, if you look up and you do like a Google search, it'll tell you the blackout period begins when the youngest child reaches 16 or 18 if they're still in school. That comes up in a Google search. That's not accurate perfectly. That's why you got to look very carefully when you use Gemini and ChatGPT and all these things. I wanted to highlight what you're going to read, and now let me explain the reality. So basically, if you have several children and you are not working and you're collecting benefits for caring for them, unless they're disabled, you no longer will get a caregiver benefit at when the youngest hits 16. When the youngest hits 16, it stops. You get a care benefit. Now, if it's 1 or 2 children left, on the total family maximum, they will notice that their benefit may go up because you're not in the picture getting benefits. So it's not the end of the world if you have if to some degree, if you have 2 children, they're going to get some of that money, some of it, if you have 2 children. So if you have 1, no. If you have 2, they're going to share a little, not a lot, but a little. So it's not the total end of the world. Bottom line, when the youngest turns 16, you lose getting the caregiver benefit. When you start earning over a certain amount, for ease of my math, around 25,000 for ease of math. Yes, for every dollar you earn over that, you're going to lose a benefit, 50 cents to the dollar, but then possibly some of that will be shared with the surviving other children. Okay, but the magic number is 16. Now, where does 18 come? Because you'll see that, do the searches. If a child can get Social Security and it stops when the child's 18, Social Security for the child stops at 18. Okay. Newsflash. Most people don't know this. The child can mail in a statement saying, I am a full-time student in high school, and actually get the benefit all the way to 19 and 2 months or graduation from high school, whatever comes first. So technically, yes, for the family, it'll be blacked out. Yes, technically at age 18, it's going to the child, but we want to take that in mind. But when I say blackout, bottom line is it's 16 when your youngest child turns. The child will continue. You'll still get money for your child until the child's 18. Then it stops for you, but your child can collect for another potentially 14 more months if still in high school and documented with Social Security. Hey, you think it's tough to keep up with all this. I have to tell SBP every year about my situation. I have to tell VA about the child if he's still a child in school at age 18. Add Social Security to the list if the child's still 18. Sorry to break the news to you, but now you have possibly a third thing to contend with. So that's where the 16 comes. Now, the blackout period is the surviving spouse, and you'll see this on the OSBR report, at age 16, doesn't see any more money of the youngest child, any money coming to them, until they turn 60. Benefits are payable to the spouse as a caregiver for the child, but once the child no longer qualifies, the spouse typically needs to wait to 60 to receive benefits, to have them resume. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. We'll talk about that. Lisa.
So let's go on to the next slide. And so what are some Social Security eligibility considerations that people talk about?
Well, monthly survivor benefits are available to some certain family members, including a widower age 60 or older, age 55 or older if they were disabled and the disability occurred within the last 7 years prior to the death of the soldier. There's a lot of caveats. But a widower of any age who is not remarried and is caring for the decedent's child or children documented with Social Security actually that 16 does not apply. So you have that concept out there. But in general, eligibility considerations, bear in mind, yes, you can start drawing at 60, but might not always be the wisest, because the full benefit you're getting at 60 or for your spouse's benefits is a reduced amount based on the retirement date. So that gets a little complex. So if you really don't need the money, in fact, if you're working and you're probably going to have some offsets to it, reality is you might want to think twice about drawing it right away at 60, unless you plan to flip it to your own name at a later period in time, like age 70. We're going to talk about this. This is so complex. Those OSBR reports are going to become your new best friend. But an unmarried child of a decedent who's under age 18 or up to 19, technically 19 and 2 months, if a full-time student, that's in school, or 18 and older, if documented by Social Security as disabled, that began before age 22. There's a lot of unique things with Social Security. So I want you to be aware. Also, some parents are age 62 and older are getting Social Security when someone dies. Rare, but it can occur if they were dependent on the income of the service member or of the American citizen who died. So you have some things out there, and there are some benefits for surviving divorced spouses if they meet some eligibility requirements. So those are some of the considerations, Lisa.
That sounds good, Mark. And so now when we're talking about 16-year-olds, age 16 of the youngest child, what considerations should one consider about Social Security?
Well, I tell surviving spouses in 2026, if you're earning over 24,360 for every dollar you're getting as a caregiver, it's going to be reduced 50 cents to the dollar. Now, if you have two or more children, it could be that with you removed from the pool or getting a diminished payment from the pool, it'll be shared with the other children, even the children not in your household. So that's we want to be careful with that. The other thing is I tell the children, although the benefits are going to stop at 18 being paid to the guardian or the parent raising the child still can collect that Social Security for another possibly 14 months. And there's the form. Thanks, Lisa.
So we do have a question from our audience, Mark, that pertains to that. So if the child's Social Security ended at age 16 and they didn't pursue Social Security benefits while still in school, will Social Security go back retro to receive the additional benefits because the child is still in school?
Okay, let's clarify this. Two things. First of all, at 16, things stop for the surviving spouse to collect that extra kicker as a conservator. So it stops. The child would still get it to age 18, and that's probably going to go automatically to 18. But the cold turkey, when it stopped, was at 18. Now the question is, hey, the child says, I'm 20 now. I didn't know for those 14 months I was still in high school, I could have collected. Yes, Social Security is pretty flexible on that. So yeah, just let them know. And I tell the child, who's now obviously over 18, log into your account and double check it wasn't paid. But if you don't know that it was paid, the odds are you are absolutely right. Work with the Social Security office, call them up, make an appointment perhaps. You'll have to document you're in school. And by the way, I know the survivor benefit plan documentation does not require school signature. If you are collecting SBP as a surviving child when there's no eligible spouse. I know VA no longer requests a signature from the school to verify it. Social Security, though, does. You still will have to get a signature from the school that you were at, that you were full-time when you say you were full-time. And then, yes, Social Security is lately has been very flexible in working. You can call them, make an appointment. They might give you a telephonic appointment, and then just drop off the form from the school. That's one way of approaching it. But yeah, you'll need a school signature. This is great. Now I have a slide deck that I put here and tell you. In preparation for this, people say, what's your bibliography? You got it. This is where I got all your Social Security stuff. I just looked at the major links and kind of put it in a logical order to help everyone out. So I'm sharing with you, the audience, my secrets. Lisa.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you from our audience. And so at what age may one start collecting Social Security?
And this is the tough question. The disability, 50. If you're disabled and you meet the requirements for the disability. Technically, you can start collecting at 60. Many spouses do, especially if they're not working. But I brace you, you're getting a reduced benefit. Now, if you're saying, I don't care, because when I'm 70, I'm going to collect on my own record because I've had a successful career, they don't care. It's like, okay. But if you start collecting prior to your retirement date as a surviving spouse, you will have a reduction over what it could have been if you waited to your normal retirement date. So you got to really do the math. Not everyone is 60 the right answer. If you got the funds and everything, you might want to wait on. Assuming I was not working right now, and even for me, let's say I was not working. It's Mark. Do you wait to 60? What should you draw your Social Security? Do you wait till you're 67? My game plan is I'm going to wait to 70. I want to get the bonus points. And then from 70 until I live at 110, I'll collect it. And even if I make it only to 90, I'm still ahead of the game. So, it all depends on that. But I'd like people to really analyze if they're going to collect earlier. Are you getting a reduced amount of what it could be? Now, I'm going to say this multiple times in today's presentation. A surviving spouse does not get bonus points if they wait after approximately 67. There's a little difference. We'll get into that. I would get no bonus points as a worker to take my pension, my Social Security after 70. You don't get any more bonus points for that. So for a surviving spouse, approximately 67, you don't get any bonus points. So start drawing at least then. If you want to do it 60, fine. It comes with a penalty, but they say it's not a penalty. I'm just getting it for more years. Fine. And if you're investing it wisely, fine. If you need the money, fine. But don't let that be automatically the default, even though for many people it makes sense. Analyze the other options. And then if you're going to collect on your own record, man, those bonus points are really nice. Anyhow, Social Security gives you that flexibility. 60 is the earliest you can draw, but in reality, in general, it's an approximation depending on the year of births that we're talking about. That the reduction could be about almost 30% of what you could be getting. So taking it right away might not be what everyone wants to do. There's a balance and the what if scenarios, and Social Security has a way to help you understand what your options are. The details are out there. In general, I'd like to say retirement date for Social Security. Remember in the beginning, I said Medicare 65, Social Security, different topic. Yeah, 67 in general. There are some exceptions there. Okay, so we talked about taking it early and then late, but no bonus points for a surviving spouse past approximately 67. No bonus points for a worker if they're going to collect on their own record past 70. And I'm going to share that in lots of bullets here because a lot of people have no clue about it. I want you to have at least the clue. Lisa.
All right. So we go to the next slide. What is the normal full retirement date for Social Security?
Okay. Well, if I was born 1960 or after, 67. If I was born 1943, 63. 66, pardon me, 66. So just to be aware of it, the normal retirement age for an individual participant is the age at which retirement benefits before rounding are equal to the primary insurance amount. What does this mean? It basically means, in general, for most people on this audience, it's going to be between 66 and 67. Some of the people a little older, it was 65 to 66. But in general, for most of the people here, 66, 67, I'd bet 67. So that's normal. If you want to get a benefit on your own record, on not a spousal record, if you want to get it on your own record, there is a reduction, permanent reduction on your own record. If you want to take it, you can start taking your own benefit as early as 62. That's for your record. And you can wait to 70, and then you can get the bonus points, about 8% a year for 3 years. Hey, that's really nice. Okay, that's the normal full retirement date for Social Security for an individual participant. Let's try the next one, Lisa.
So what is the full retirement age for survivor benefits compared to other benefits, such as one's own normal retirement age on their own record?
In general, they're similar. There's slight differences. So if you fall into this category, work with Social Security and point blank, what is my normal retirement date on my own record? What's my normal retirement date on my spouse's record? There's slight nuances. And if you're taking either of the benefits early, there's going to be a slight reduction. I want you to be aware. Next slide.
Yeah. So Mark, what happens if one works and starts to receive Social Security prior to their normal retirement date?
This applies if you're 30 years old. This applies if you're 66 years old when 67 was your normal retirement date. For every $2 you earn, $1 is reduced from Social Security. Possibly it can be reallocated to other people that are qualifying on the record. It doesn't happen a whole lot for older individuals. So it's a 2-to-1 reduction. But the other thing is, when they do a recalculation, they'll take into account that they reduced your benefit if it is a benefit for your retirement, not your caregiver benefit, but for your retirement. If they had to reduce it because you went over, fine. Then when you really retire or go under the limit of 24,360 as it is in 2026, they'll readjust your Social Security benefits. So it's not like totally lost, but just to bear in mind for budget purposes, there is an offset. So now there's a special provision when one starts to draw in the year of the normal retirement date, just so people are aware. Lisa.
So then what exactly is the difference between date to claim on your work record versus the surviving spouse's work record for Social Security?
That's this is so interesting, at least to me, and I think it is to survivors that say, "I never thought of this. I never thought of this two different thing." The earliest you can claim on your own record is 62, and the latest that I would recommend is age 70 if you're going to claim on your own work record. But if your salary is close to your spouse's income, yeah, you really might do that. And getting those 3 years of bonus points, or even 2 years of bonus points, or 1 year, not bad. So the earliest you can claim on your own record is 62. The latest I would kind of suggest is 70, because there's no advantage to waiting after 70. You don't get bonus points. Now, on a survivor's spouse's benefit, age 60. You can be as young as 50. Now, I got to do a shout out to Sue. You're the one who caught this, because I said, hey, can you spot check me on a few things? You said, remind people the 50 is not for every 50. It's only if you had a disability that started before or within 7 years of your spouse's death. You're absolutely right. I had to add that. Thank you, Sue. So now, full retirement age. What is full retirement age? In general, on your own record, it's around 66, 67, depending on your year of birth. It's 67 for anyone born 1960 or later, as we talked out. So same thing for the survivor spouses, but it's a slightly different table. It's based on the survivor's year of birth if you're getting a survivor benefit. Not so you got to, I want to clarify it that it's a slightly different table. So for the few people in the audience, I just want you to be aware. This is how unique it is. Your visit when you go to Social Security to do the what ifs, you're going to have a good time. Next.
So what are Social Security age considerations for claiming benefits for a surviving spouse?
Well, for anything, if you're collecting on a surviving spouse's benefit, don't wait beyond 67. And if you're going to collect on your own record, don't wait beyond 70, because there's no benefit to it. And you're not going to be penalized for earning money in the retirement years anyhow. So go for it. Go for it. I like people to really do an analysis, because the default of saying, hey, I'm getting my spouse's Social Security benefit for the rest of my life. I often say, really? Okay. You just told me that after your husband died and you raised the kids, you went back to the career force for 20 years. Yeah, I had a pretty good job there. Okay, good level. Yeah. Do the calculation. I wonder if you want to flip at 67, 68, 69, or 70 to your own record. Many people didn't even think of doing that. Social Security now won't pay both benefits at once. Once you receive the higher of the two amounts, given the complexity of these rules, though, let Social Security help you figure it out. It's often a good idea to speak with a financial advisor or representative of Social Security. I don't mind giving the big, broad picture, but I leave the privilege of doing the minutia to Social Security Administration to discuss your particular situation and help you determine the best claiming strategy for you. One shoe doesn't fit all. There's so many variations there. Lisa.
Well, we've got a question from Heather that fits right into this. She says, when you look at your statement at www.socialsecurity.com/myaccount, it shows projected income, but that's based on current earnings. How do you project your future earnings if your income continues to go up? Or what if you stop working? Is there a better way to address future benefits?
That's Heather, compliments to you. I agree with you. I often tell people, look at it now, because remember, in real-time dollars, that's pretty much your projection. So although they're not projecting future growth of your income necessarily to the way you'd like, they're showing the numbers in real-time dollars. So, basically, if I see my numbers 100,000 in 2026 strategy, I wish it was 100, but if I see 100,000 in today's world, if I know what's it worth in 4 years, I'll just add a cost of living to it. So because, yes, it doesn't take that into account in looking at all the numbers. When you see the numbers, you also realize it's in today's dollars as well. So it catches up evenly. That's not the answer you want. It's not the answer I want to give. But you're right. It's very difficult to do that projection, especially if your salary growth, and with a question like that, I'm sure it's more than the average person, is higher than the norm. You're absolutely right. It's not that easy. It's a manual process. Good point.
So Mark, yeah, I have a follow-on question. This is from a different person who's participating. They said, once I took survivor Social Security, I can no longer see what I would get on my own employment. Is there any way to see it, or why we can't see it?
Social Security can help you with that directly.
All
They
right,
can help.
thank
They
you
can help
for
you with that on those reports. And again, whoever asked that question, I thank you for that. Everyone in this group, please log into your account. If you have a takeaway from this, log into your account. I don't care if you're 33 years old or, make sure. Now, I'll tell you, a few years ago, I logged into my account and I found out one of my former employers accidentally didn't report my income. So my benefits, if I didn't catch that, and it was an honest mistake, if I didn't catch that, my benefits would be based on that goofball year that occurred. I don't know what happened. It got fixed. Look at your report and on your own record, make sure the work history is correct. Lisa.
that is very important. So Chris has a question that fits into this. Chris says, if I claim my spouse's Social Security and am working, it's the same. They reduce the benefits, so I end up with nothing. So it depends on if you're working.
It does. It does. That 24,000 and change, close to 25,000 is very good. But fear not. If your benefit got reduced for either portion, either way, if it got reduced because your earnings that year were higher, and it often happens, people retire, they go back to the labor force in their 60s, a little more, and now all of a sudden their Social Security gets reduced. Have no fear. When you stop earning over that bogey and the recalculation is done, it automatically will occur, and you'll be not really penalized. Yes, it'll be frustrating not getting it now, cash flow, because you were hoping for it. But what was taken away because your earnings boxed you out or partially boxed you out because of the 2-for-1 offset, have no worry. It comes right back.
Super. Thank you so much, Mark. So then what happens to Social Security withheld benefits, and is there potential for increased future benefits?
The
Next
good news
slide.
is this is wonderful. This is wonderful. First of all, if you're earning salary after drawing Social Security, let's say it's 67, yes, recalculations can occur. But here's the beauty. A lot of people don't know. When you start collecting Social Security, there's COLA. The COLA is for Social Security was the same this year, and it has been for years, the same as VA Social Security, VA benefit increase, VA benefit and SBP benefit. 2.8% this year. Last year was 2.5. Prior year, I believe it was 8.7. So you will get all the cost of living increases with Social Security, keep pace with inflation, which is great. I appreciate that. Now, what happens to Social Security withheld benefits? Is there potential for increased future benefits? The answer is yes. That's the big thing. Recalculation will occur. Now, if you were reduced on your benefits while you were a caregiver between when the youngest child was between 0 and 16, and you lost your benefits, no, that's going to be shared with the other children, but not in a perfect ratio. But if you lost your benefits that you started collecting post 60 or 62 or whenever, up to your normal retirement date, if you were reduced anything, that'll be recalculated for you. So that's comforting. Now, it's important if you go back to the labor force to report your earnings to Social Security so they don't start dinging you. I mean, it just makes it easier. It's sort of like, I love the presentation we had from DFAS. Let us know if things change so we can make the adjustment in time. So same thing. If your income is going to change of what Social Security thought you were getting, let them know in advance because they're going to get the records, but delayed. Let them know. So that'll help prevent overpayment. Simple concept. Lisa.
So Mark, can a surviving spouse get full survivor Social Security benefits?
Yes, but in general, they got to wait to 66 to 67 in most cases. So that's the rub. If you take it earlier, it's a reduced benefit. Some people say it's fine. I'm investing the money finally. I'm good with it. Others tell me I need the money. Okay, great. Other people said, I get a better benefit. I ask them, are you planning to flip to your own record at some point? If they say no, I often say, are you sure you want to take it at 60 if you don't need it? This is where personalized one-on-one dialogues, I can ask the big question, probing questions, and then they go to Social Security and they say, where'd you get these arsenal questions from? That's okay. That's okay. Because you're important.
Absolutely. So can a disabled surviving spouse claim Social Security survivor benefits between ages 50 to 59?
I encourage people to do that. Bottom line is you're not working, you don't have other income, money's tight. Do it. I have quite a few surviving spouse claimants. I've been working with some. I see one of my colleagues in California is on the line here. One of the survivors, we brainstormed, face reality. Yeah, it makes sense. And the disability occurred within the 7 years of the passage of the level. Why are they not doing this? I have a friend in New York on the call. We had the same situation. Fine. Let them do it. Some people don't realize you can start collecting a survivor benefit if you're disabled at 50. Yes, it's reduced at 71.5%, but that's the same number if you waited to 60 anyhow, so you might as well. So yeah, I would do that. And then if the time's right and you had some good work year records, that disability just hit you out of the blue, fine. Maybe flip it at 70, 67, 68, 69, 70. Great.
So Mark, then even though a surviving spouse is eligible for Social Security survivor benefits at age 60, when would it make sense for the surviving spouse to wait?
When I have my one-on-ones with the survivors, I ask them some point blank questions. Do you have other financial resources? And if they say they're going to rely on this money, they think they're going to live a long time and they're healthy, and but right now they don't need it, they might want to delay. I said, do you want to maximize long-term income? If the primary goal is to ensure the largest possible lifetime benefit, maybe wait to 66, 67. Now, if you're going to flip to your own record at some point and you're not working, at 60 makes sense in most cases. Those are some of the things that are out there. Remember, if you start drawing benefits early, it's a permanent reduction of the benefit. Many people say, it's fine, I'm going to invest it wisely. Fine. Now, some people have the desire of higher lifetime monthly payout. We have another dialogue, but we watch the latest. As I mentioned earlier, the 67, if it's on the spousal benefit in general, the 70, if it's on yours. Lisa.
So can surviving spouses claim Social Security survivor benefits between ages 60 and over?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Now, I use 60 as the extreme. If you want to start at 62, 63, 64, fine. It'll still have a reduction. 67, no more reduction, or at 66 and change if you're in that category. And then again, the question comes up, do you want to flip it to your own record at maybe your full retirement date, 67, 68, 69, 70? Often 70 is the magic bullet. Kind of neat. I mean, there are some reduction things. People often ask me, how is it calculated? Well, for the actuaries in the group, I told you, for the first 36 months before your normal retirement date, the reduction is 25/36 of 1% per month. Any additional months beyond that is 5/12 of 1% per month up to the cap. That's just for the actuaries. Lisa.
So for the next two slides, it pertains to this question, Mark. It's why might a surviving spouse take survivor benefits early and switch to their own record later at age 70?
Cash flow. It's that simple. Cash flow. And I tell people, if you're going to take a concept away from this dialogue, always evaluate if it makes sense to flip at a later point. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. So what, Mark, are the key differences in normal retirement age based on one own's record versus based on a surviving spouse's record?
Bottom line, this is a summary thing is, in general, if you take early benefits, and 60 is an early benefit, there is a reduction. If you take your own benefit at 62, which is the earliest you can do, there is a reduction. That's the big takeaway, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Mark. And then can surviving spouses who desire to start claiming Social Security benefits after full retirement age get a larger benefit?
Taking on a spouse's benefit beyond 67, no benefit. Might as well just do it. And enjoy the cost of livings that come every year. On your own record, 70. The longer you wait, the more you will receive. Only applies to claiming benefits on your own earnings record. And again, 70. If you get it on your spouse's record, 67. That's an important takeaway from this dialogue.
And so, Mark, what are some other key points related to Social Security that we should know about?
Well, everyone says, "Oh, I'm going to go online and apply." No, survivor benefits cannot be applied for online. They must be applied for by phone or at a Social Security office. Many offices have moved from walk-in appointments to scheduled phone appointments. I mean, I love America. I call Social Security by phone to make a telephonic appointment. Ay, ay, ay. But that's how it is right now. Marriage rules. You can only get surviving spouse's benefit if you were married for at least 9 months. But remember, that rule is waived in most cases for the military. So if they're throwing the 9-month rule on you, if you're in that category, remind them that you're military, and ask them to research that situation. Okay. And there are other exceptions as well. But sometimes some of the staff is not aware because they don't deal with the military survivor all the time at the office you're going to. There is some exceptions to that 9-month rule. The other considerations, if you're eligible for both your own retirement benefit and survivor benefit, Social Security will pay the higher amount. Great. You are allowed to switch as a survivor, which is great. You can't do that if you are married to someone and neither one of you died and you want to take advantage of the switching thing. What's best no, you can't switch, but you can do it if you're a survivor. So you have some important considerations also. If you're already receiving spousal benefits, then usually convert automatically to survivor benefits upon the death of the worker. So, but they're going to do the math there. They're going to do the math and see what's in the best world for you. A lot of things to consider. And again, we're doing a workshop that the people have asked for. This is something that we have not done in my 18 years. This is the second topic there. So it's new ground. And we did it because of people putting in the chat box, please address this situation. I'm young, but I still have these concerns. Lisa, any closing thoughts on this section?
Well, I do have some more questions for you. One of them came from Erica. And so she says, but if she can retire at age 67 from employment, can she collect both Social Security and, I'm messing this question up. Can she collect Social Security on both the survivor Social Security and her own?
Yes, but not at the same time. And I'm going to give you 10-1. The strategy will be 67. Just grab it because there's no penalty for your earnings. Grab it on your spouse's record, and at 70, do a reevaluation to see if it should flip to you. That is possibly take the best of the two. But if it turns out to be your spouse at 67, grab it. Or if it's close, because you're going to get bonus points to wait to 70. This is a classic case. So thank you very much, Erica, for bringing that. Classic situation. So at 67, I would say the odds are strong. Looks like you're working, got a good career there. Strong to take on your spouse's benefit and flip to yours at 70. We can do all the variations in between, but that probably is going to be your best option. Perfect example.
Thank you so much. And so, Mark, I have another question. So how does one log into their Social Security account?
It's not the easiest thing in the world. You'll need like an ID me to do it. I mean, if you Google log into my Social Security account, it'll tell you, but then you're going to have established a way to get in with the dual authentication. It's not as easy as it used to be. I mean, it was easier 10 years ago, but now that you have to use a way to get in, it's that dual authentication that is a problem because people don't have that second way to get in.
And so, Mark, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's not easy. I can help you. Your coordinators can help you. I mean, basically, if you have a cell phone, it's great. You got to take a picture of your license to validate it. Getting an ID me for the first time is not the easiest.
That's true. So how does one obtain their Social Security benefit estimates?
Again, if you're already collecting Social Security, you got to ask for a manual report. But in general, ssa.gov/online services. To create an account, Social Security, my account, that's the easy part for me to tell you. It's being able to get through that authentication to get your account set up. That's a bit of a bear. To view your statement, it's great. I encourage people to look at the online calculators SS have. They have their limitations in terms of cost of living, stuff like that. But yeah, they're decent. They work. But I don't want to exceed people's expectations and oversell it. It works. It is a calculator. To estimate survivor benefits for a spouse or potential survivor, that can also be done by contacting Social Security directly. Good question.
Thank you. And then, you know what? I've never heard of this before, Mark, but what exactly is the Social Security 9-month rule? And can it be waived for active duty service members under specific circumstances?
Very few people know about the 9-month rule. To qualify for Social Security benefits, a spouse must typically have been married to the deceased worker for at least 9 months before the worker's death. The exception is usually if there's a child born or you're in the military, but a lot of the reps don't know that. So they can waive the active duty service member if they know that it was in the military. The 9-month can be waived. You might have to just remind the staff at Social Security. You know, up to a year ago, we had a dedicated help desk for survivors that they could call with the casualty officer, and all they did was some active duty service member deaths. Right now, it's not there as much. There was a lot of changes. So now it's going to the regional offices, which is fine. It actually gives personalized service, which is fine. But if you have a rep that hasn't dealt with an active duty death before, you might want to remind them of this, to look it up, the 9-month rule and the exceptions, if you're caught on that when they calculate benefits. So that works out very nice. Now, one thing I remind people, if you qualified for VA disability benefits, that's one set of criteria rules. Social Security criteria rules are different. Just bear that in mind.
That sounds good. So, Mark, we do have a question from our audience. This is from Nate. He's an Army SOS coordinator as well. And so he said, would you recommend that the surviving spouse or guardian of the child place a portion of that child's Social Security into a trust or a Roth until the child reaches the age of majority at 18?
I would love that. I would love that. You know, Roth is my favorite 4-letter word. I would love that for them to open a personalized Roth. But the problem is that's not considered earned income. Nate, that was a great question. They're blessed at the Presidio to have you on the team there. But that's a great question. So a child that has earned income can only fund his own Roth IRA up to the limit, $7,500 or $8,600 if he's over 50, which is not the case. He can put it in up to his earned income. So when my son was starting to work and he earned an income, and I think his earnings 1 year, and he was just starting, was $4,000. No matter where, if he got unearned income, I couldn't put it. But I said, how much was your earned income? He said, 4,000. Great. I actually funded his Roth IRA of $4,000 that year, and it grew pretty well over the years. So the nice concept is, I like the concept of if you have extra money you don't need, putting in a Roth, but you can only put up to a Roth to the annual limits, unless you're putting in the money because of the HEROES Act of 2008 for the lump sum death gratuity or SGLI. But basically, you can only put money into a Roth IRA up to your earned income. But it's a great technique for parents. If their children are working part-time, you have a little extra money there, you want to fund a Roth for them, that's a great thing. They can pull that money out at any time prior to 59 and a half, or any time up to the principal. You can always pull it out. Beyond that, you got to wait to 59. There are exceptions. It's a great strategy. I compliment you that, but it can't be if they only get Social Security. If they have Social Security and earned income, and only up to the value of the earned income. Thank you, Nate.
So, Mark, that was a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot myself, and it was amazing. If anybody has any more questions, please submit them in the Q&As, and otherwise, we'll go to our next topic, which is a continuation from our last two by popular demand.
Oh gosh, yeah, there's so much out there, and I'm so thankful. I see people from TAPS on the line. What resources, wonderful resource you have for people for navigating it. I'm so grateful that people in the VA are still there, because we're going to integrate VA benefits into all the other benefits. And we put this as the last thing because what we don't cover today will go in our next presentation. So we're cool about that. The focus on today's chat was part one, which was Medicare, part two, which was Social Security, and then this was something that we're doing in a few stages. So let me break it down. First of all, first question is, people talk about saving the fry. some people know that they have the FRI benefit available to them. Depending on the casualty year of death, they have it potentially 36 months for life. Okay, bottom line is I have many students that I work with that don't use it for community college. They save the FRI. Why? They'll use it for grad school, PhD work, and they'll capitalize on all the other benefits that they're getting from our 501c3 community partners. And also because just 3 years ago, the FAFSA was changed, and we'll talk about that, saying if you lost a parent to active duty, you're going to get the Max Pell Grant. And then now we have some states really kicking it in positively for grants, not only for their residents, but also for their surviving children. So some of these state programs, Florida, California, New York, look at some of your state programs. So yes, apply for the FRI, keep that award letter handy, and then see how August comes before you go to school if you really need it, because you might have other programs. I see we have some people on the line from Children of Fallen Patriot Foundation, from American Legion, from MOA. We have some people from Freedom Alliance on the line, community partners. I'm just scanning right now. No Greater Sacrifice. They have grants for you. Army Emergency Relief. We have some AR officers here. They have grants for you. So capitalize it. And that's going to be the purpose of of this conversation following up on next month. I hope you appreciate it. Look at state aid. Many people are forgetting that. Now, I tell you, if you're from Missouri, my home state, listen hard. Please apply for your FAFSA now, because the state is giving extra grants for those that have filed the FAFSA and do qualify for some Pell Grant in some fashions. But the deadline, they're going to get a match from higher ed to the state. The deadline for any state supplement programs is tomorrow. So enjoy doing the FAFSA after this call if you're from Missouri. Some other states have done the same deadlines, by the way. So although the federal deadline's way out, the deadline's early for some of the states. And especially, so please look at that. So you have some opportunities there. Saving the FRI. The VA is so generous in their benefits. The benefits are great. There's a lot of strategy. We're going to talk about that and how to integrate it. Lisa.
So what changed in the eligibility for the Iraq and Afghanistan Service Grant and Children of Fallen Heroes Grant Award that started in the 2024 and 2025 school year?
Yeah, prior to that, the extra getting the Max Pell was exclusively reserved from Children of Fallen Heroes, Iraq, Afghanistan. Didn't even cover other countries. And now, did you lose a loved one? Active duty. In fact, it's been expanded. Did you lose a policeman? Active duty. A first responder? Active duty. So if you look at that, now a lot of schools don't know about that. So really just say, hey, this was the continuation of what used to be called the Iraq-Afghanistan grant and now has evolved to be a broader audience. And the school might say, huh? So ask them to look it up or call higher ed. They have a contact, because if they've not dealt with the military survivor before, they might be unaware. It's only been around for 2 or 3 years. So that's the bottom line. Lisa.
Oh, that's really good news, Mark. So what documentation do schools accept to award the maximum Pell for reasons beyond financial need?
Schools differ. I called 5 schools at random and see what they asked for. Some said we want a 214. You don't get a 214 for an active duty death. Oh, really? So I was calling just to get a feel. You need a 1300. Give it to them. If they don't know what a 1300 is, if you want to redact it a little bit, if there's some stuff you don't want them to see, fine. But a 1300 is all they really need, but they might be looking for a 214. Just a little education. It's so new. I had one school said, oh, we want a Veterans Affairs death narrative from the commanding officer. Fine, we got it. It wasn't worth the aggravation to argue, and we were able to get that. So those are some of another time we got a military commander to do it. It's such a new process. There are some opportunities for improvement in customer service. And one of the things is, many of the people that you're giving it to don't understand that a DD 1300 is the report of casualty. So it's an education. But if you give it to them, they should do that. And then what they do is, by professional judgment, give you the award that you are entitled to because of the situation. Thank you, Lisa.
No worries. So are scholarships being used effectively, especially if graduate school is being planned?
Just yesterday I had a phone call from a survivor. He used his Fry Award letter for community college 2 years and a regular college for 2 years, and now he's going on to be a doctor, and he's no more Fry. So I said, early on we could have taken it. I don't want to say, oh, it's too late. No, and he got his college degree, so he couldn't use the STEM grant. I actually checked with Kelly. Thank you for being on this call, Kelly, that he can't use it for his grad school. I mean, oh gosh. So I felt really bad. So we're finding him a couple of nonprofit organizations that will help with grad school, like admittedly Folds of Honor and Folded Flag, but not all groups do grad schools. And we're finding other resources, but their strategy, if you plan to go to grad school, you might want to consider maximizing all the other benefits and save the fry. And I know groups like now Special Ops educated in part of that workshop they do for their people that everyone's different, but having an idea what the potential goals and objectives is. And I'm so thankful that TAPS in their education program, the programs that Freedom Alliance does, No Greater Sacrifice does, Tuesday's Children do, Special Ops does. When they educate their children, they realize that every situation is different. So those are some of the things that are out there. I also just will mention it again. Because I recognize two names on this call. We have two remarried spouses. You can get your fry if you restored. So that's thanks to the Dole bill actually acts since it passed last year. So anyhow, that's out there. Lisa.
That is such awesome news. And then Kathy from Bavaria, she has a question, or not a question, but she has a statement. She said, I just want to share that another document that can be used in addition to the DD Form 1300, it's a form, I've never heard of this, but it's called DD Form 1569, which is a transcript of military record. So there's another option for our survivors to use. And so, Mark, how do you apply for VA educational benefits?
Obviously, if you're 18 and older, just log in. Oh, you can't use a DS login anymore. It's an ID.me or mil.gov, but you log into your account and apply. If you're under 18, take the form, print it out, and then have someone who can upload it. I think is the best way of doing it. Quick submit, or that works. They can do it on their account, or log it up onto Ask VA. Just upload it, or go to your local VSO. So there's many ways to do it. It's easy when you're 18 and above because you can log in. But that works. Now it's going to go, depending on situations, it's going to go one or two processing centers in New York or in Oklahoma. It's applying for it is a great concept there. Now, can you apply for it now for the fall term? Sure. Anyhow, any other thoughts, Lisa?
Well, what is the new monthly enrollment verification related to VA educational benefits?
Well, Kelly did that superb presentation earlier today, reminding us that for the 35, you can do a simple way, but please, you have monthly enrollment verification that's out there. That same process is available basically for the post 9/11 GI Bill processes. So, no matter what you're getting, 35, 33, there's so many easy ways that you can do the monthly enrollment. Most of the survivors I work with have really appreciated this text messaging. It's the VA's recommended method, so it's a nice thing. I find that simple things. You can opt in to receive text message each month asking to confirm enrollment status. Away you go. Text is like these 18, 19-year-olds love it, but you know what? So will that 55-year-old that's in school too. It's such a simple process. There are many ways, but that new monthly enrollment verification related to VA educational benefits, it's superb. You'd still you can do email, phone, and online, but just do it, because if you don't do it for 2 consecutive months, the monthly housing allowance and kicker payments, if any, they'll be put on hold. So do yourself a favor. And I like simplicity. Text messaging might be the best way to go out there. The VA just updated their website recently to go over some of it on education and verify school enrollment. I encourage you to look at that. Lisa.
That sounds good. And I know the younger people in our group, the younger students, they definitely know all about using technology. And using that text messaging. So I'm with you. Simplicity is best. So what is the yellow ribbon program?
Thanks. So the Yellow Ribbon program, it's often good. And if you go to the compare site at the VA website, what a well done website that is. It can tell you basically approximately what the school tuition is and what is in general what the VA allocation would be. And it has a cap. But the bottom line is if it's a yellow ribbon school, and it'll tell you on that website, then you can call the school and say, hey, will you, could I be yellow ribbon consideration? So simple way of explaining it, the VA will split the difference with the school if they game. That's the bottom line if they play ball. Overly simplified explanation. But we want to be careful with that. I had a student go into a premier school in New York, and it said yellow ribbon, but he didn't announce that he was going there, and they are yellow ribbon, but only for the first 25 people per year that ask for it to be yellow ribbon. So he missed the boat unless someone drops out. So if you're planning to do the yellow ribbon, communicate that with your school VA office and say, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to your school, and let them know that you might be coming, and say, will they acknowledge it? Because they might say yes on the website, but it's up to, they can't afford to do it after a certain point. So that's a good thing. Thank you for that yellow ribbon question. So,
and Mark, I'm going to go back a slide. Can you talk about popular VA programs? What are they?
Well, a lot of people use the DEA, especially our service-connected deaths that were not considered qualifying for the FRI for various reasons. One could be it was not an active duty death. But we got to be very careful. I always ask the survivor, can you tell me about your loved one? One, I'm interested. Two, I'd like to know what day the loved one died. Because due to the day of death, it's so important. Due to the day of death, prior to August 1, 2011, they can actually get the DEA and the FRI. So that's a very important concept to look at. They can get both. DEA might have a delimitation date, but actually so does the FRI in that category. So we want to see, do they have 72 months potentially of both? And for some of our survivor children prior to August 1, 2011, the answer is yes. I then will also ask them questions. If they're not going to get both and they want to save it, there's nothing wrong saying, have you considered keeping the DIC until age 23 if you plan to get your PhD? And just keep the DIC going and then flip to the FRI. So those are the considerations. So we talk about popular benefits. I always say it all depends. All ages differ. When you go to a VSO, they can help you analyze some of these things. And they're going to double check if the death occurred before or after January 1, 2013, because what is the delimitation date? They're going to figure it out. Hey, can you use this anytime in your life? Or is there a 33 restriction on it because the day that your loved one passed away? So we kind of look at some of those situations. Now, one thing that I run into is VA is pretty good about this. I had a student that ran out of the FRI scholarship in March. VA kept it going until graduation in May. So kudos to that. I mean, they didn't go cold turkey in the middle of the senior year. I admire that. And I have some people that are in the STEM field and got an extra 9 months out of it. So those are all variations, but every situation is different. I remind people of that. The other thing I tell people to do is have regular dialogues with your VA. Sometimes at the VA college, you're going to get great success. Sometimes they take advantage of the VSO in your community, especially if you're in a college community. They might know some ins and outs and have some great ideas and see if there's some state VA benefits that are available to you. So very positive thing. So popular VA programs, we look at the national scale, but let's also look at some of the state programs that are out there. Please look at your state and stay in touch with your local VSOs.
That's so good. So let's talk a little bit more about that FRI scholarship. So can you talk about the time limit?
Yeah. Key dates. Before January 1, 2013 and after January 1, 2013. There might be a different delimitation date for the earlier ones. It might be earlier. The other thing I run into, which relates to it, and again, please work with your VA office and call the education unit of the VA. But there might be a time limit depending on the age of death. There's also a limit that I want people to be aware of. We talk about 36 months, maybe 72 if you get the DA and the FRI because the death was prior to August 1, 2011. Okay, I get that. But let's say you're collecting on two people's records, your own and the service member who passed away, or a disabled parent who also had the unfortunate with the spouse that died. Okay, if you collect on two records, you might think 36 here, 36 there. It doesn't work that way. There's a 48 cap in general. I just want people to be sensitive to that. Lisa.
Let's talk a little bit more on the Fried Scholarship about the changes in the expansion. Next slide.
Okay. The VA has great resources on this on the website, on the expansion. I'm going to repeat exactly as it's put on the VA website. An individual who on or after September 11, 2001 dies in the line of duty while serving on duty other than active duty as a member of the armed forces, or a member of the Select Reserves who dies on or after September 11, 2001 while a member of the Select Reserve from non-service connected disability. You know, it basically, there is a larger audience potentially that are eligible. So I ask people, if you think you were denied prior to 2021, reading this, if you feel that you qualify, reapply and just see if you meet it and work with, you know, you'll get a response. You'll have one of those two centers will be working with it and see what the story is now. So I encourage people, same thing. I had a spouse that said, I remarried and I was denied the FRI. Did you apply since the dole bill came out? No. Why don't you apply now? So that's why when things change and expand, I ask people just reapply, see what happens. You have the Customer Service Help Center. And by the way, Caduce, if any, for those still on from the VA, I had to call the customer service with a survivor that was a little distraught. I stayed on the line. I waited on hold for 14 seconds. That was it, to the educational hotline. And last week I had to call the regular hotline number on the generic number. I waited for 3 seconds. So what you're doing with customer service right now is stellar in terms of and the people gave accurate answers both times. So a kudo there. Anyhow, so that's what changed.
And so what about for spouses?
There's no time limit in general on the FRI. I said the FRI. So that's good news. And remarried spouses as of January 2nd, they got the FRI. If they used 5 months already, well, I guess they have 36 minus 5 left, 31. They didn't touch the FRI, go ahead, apply. You have 36. If your award letter again comes back inaccurately, call the Office of Survivor. Well, the best thing is start with the educational unit. And then if that doesn't work, we'll use the Office of Survivor Assistance. They can look at these things. It could just be with things changing, sometimes a mistake occurs. But yeah, that changed January 2nd, 2025.
So Mark, you mentioned DEA. What exactly is DEA?
We have many people that we work with that it wasn't an active duty death. They weren't in any status, but it's 100% service-connected veteran I'm working with. I remind them that they still have a VA educational benefit for full-time enrollment. It's significant dollars. I mean, to me, again, $1,574 a month, that's a lot of money. Now, that's something I want people to really realize, and don't forget it. And here's the good news. If you're getting a DEA, many of the nonprofit charities, and I know they're on the line, Children of Fallen Patriots, a great example. Many of the nonprofit 501c3 groups, they'll give you extra money if you can show that you're at least getting the DEA. So even if you're not getting the FRI for one reason, but you're getting a DEA because of a death, but it didn't come in to be FRI eligible for some of the, great. Yes. So if you get a DEA, I'm thrilled because it triggers with many of the 501c3 groups, folded flag. By the way, folded flag, their opening bell will be April 1. They focus more on people that the incident was due to something that occurred Iraq, Afghanistan, overseas. Folds of Honor, they open their website on the 1st. Folds of Honor. So you have some groups out there, and if you're getting DA, let them know. It's saying, hey, it was a service connected. That might be fine, and then they'll supplement it. And from what I understand, Folds of Honor, their game plan is still to give scholarships, kindergarten, private school, yes, kindergarten, all the way to PhD this year. and they're looking at about 2,500 a term. So let's see where it goes and how many people apply. So yeah, getting the DA could be a stepping stool to other things.
Very good. Let's go to the next slide to show some more information about DEA.
Yeah, and I have a lot there. And this is going to be available online for people to look at. And look at what the VA has recently put there. This is great.
Absolutely. That is great. So the next question, Mark, is there a time limit for DEA?
It all depends, basically. When did the death occur? And the age 26 restriction was lifted for some target audiences. So we have that concern. Generally, you have up to 8 years to use your benefit before you turn 26 years old. There's so many variations on that. Every case is different. I often say contact the VA educational department, look at your award letter carefully. And if you think your VA award letter wasn't written correctly, because there's so many variations, call them, ask for an explanation, ask them to review it. So that's probably the best thing. But in general, there's no time limit if one of these things is true, since DEA for cases after August 1, 2023, in general, lifted the age 26 restriction. And you see them on your screen.
And then go to the next slide, which shows a little more.
Yeah, that gives you a couple of things. I get questions from soldiers that say, my dad died in the military. Do I still have access to use VA educational benefits? Again, every situation's different. Contact the VA educational department. But in some cases, if you plan to use a DA, perhaps from a parent and also your benefits, you might want to use your VA benefits first and then look at some options that you have thereafter. But that every situation's unique.
Absolutely. So, Mark, I've got another question for you. What is the Johnny Isaacson and David P. Rowe, MD, Veterans Healthcare and Benefits Improvement Act of 2020?
And a lot of people thank TAPS and other groups, MOA, and many of the groups that worked on this, getting this through, because effective October 1, 2021, eligibility for the Frye Scholarship kind of got expanded. I mean, the bottom line is now children or spouses can qualify if the service member died while serving on duty other than active duty as a member of the armed forces or from service-connected disability while a member of the select reserves. It's all these subtle expansions that have really opened the door for many individuals. So a shout out to the groups that some of them are on this call. Thank you for being there. And thanks for what you've done on behalf of the other survivors here. Kudos.
Absolutely. So, Mark, let's take a moment to review the prior financial considerations segment that's related to educational benefits.
Yeah, and very important. Let's understand the difference between 33 and 35. 33 Frye, 35 DEA. Okay. I'd like you to look at the Frye Scholarship Resources. The webpage has recently been updated by the VA, and it really shows the expanded eligibility from all different sources in that fluid topic. Wonderful. To understand the DEAs there, and remember, some people might be eligible for both, not the same time, if the death was prior to 8/2021, especially. That could be even because of the same service member situation. I encourage people to call the hotline. You're going to get through. I mean, based on what I saw last week, it's great. If you're looking at schools and it's going to be a pricey private school, you might want to see if they do yellow ribbon, but that's not all. As I mentioned in summary, you basically want to double check how they use their yellow ribbon allotments for the year. And I'm a big fan of the GI Bill comparison tool. Get an idea of what the tuition will be. It gives you a real idea of what should be covered. And if the tuition is greater than the VA, then you probably want to start asking the yellow ribbon school questions. But remember, you also have a lot of the 501c3 groups out there to assist you by your side.
So, Mark, you talked about the Frye Scholarship, the DEA, yellow ribbon school, and so forth. And you talked about this doctor, this guy who's trying to go to medical school, and he used up his educational benefits. But what are some popular non-VA scholarships that our survivors may be eligible for?
Well, this is an important concept. And I just listed 5 at random, and you'll see why in a second. On a recent call, I asked people to put what groups supplemented or complemented what you got from the VA and other sources. And people just in the chat box put some of the groups. These were the groups that came up. I'm not saying they're my favorite 5 in any way, but I do know the personnel at all 5. And actually, I think everyone from this group is on the line. Bottom line is, these are a great place to start based on the peers from a prior dialogue that we had when we said name some schools. Children of Fallen Patriot Foundation, Folds of Honor, Freedom Alliance. Freedom Alliance, I like that. With all the Russia scholarships, if you plan to be in school in August, you don't have to apply till the 1st of April. The pressure's not on. Folded Flag opens April 1. Folds of Honor, by the way, I said was on the 1st. No greater sacrifice. If you, for example, if you had a theater death, you want them to consider a case, give them a call, get an application, call them. The application's not online. You got to call them. But now this brings us to the next question that I planted. I hope it's there. Let's see. Yes. This to me is just a wonderful way for us to wrap up this segment, because we'll have part 2 on scholarships, but I need your help. I'd like you as participants to tell me some of the groups that have helped you, your children, your relatives. And if you don't mind, give a shout out, just like I did before when we got those 6 groups, because I don't want to accidentally miss one that's helping our survivors. So you're going to help me. So if you don't mind, go to the Q&A box. And in there, I know it's not a Q, it's an A. You're going to do the A. Tell me the groups that have helped your family, if you don't mind, because I'd like to, when it's appropriate, make sure that we give a shout out to them. Is that okay, Lisa?
Absolutely. So go ahead and list your group in the Q&A, knowing that it's an A, of organizations or individuals who have provided financial scholarships to you or your family members. Or if you're a service provider who has provided you the ability to provide assistance to surviving family members. You guys are quiet out there.
And
Even if it's a repeat.
Yeah. And go to more Q&A and A. And this is going to help me as I prepare for our next dialogue that we're going to be having in June.
All right. We got Gregory from the Folded Flags, and I'm saying it wrong. Folded Flags and Folds of Honor. Thank you, Gregory.
All right. Mark said this is perfect timing. I hate to be the timekeeper, but we're down to 4 minutes, and we don't want to cutting on people's Friday evenings. Plenty of great information, plenty more to come. So we already got a good chunk for our next conference. The Q&A is still open. We'll leave it open for a little longer, but we don't want to hold you. So if jump all the way down to slide 150, just so we put up the information on the next one again. But thank you, Mark and Lisa. That was amazing, and too much good info. I'm sure everybody's going to be waiting for the slides to get posted.
There's one shout out. This is a new one. The Cost of Courage Foundation. They provide scholarships for surviving siblings of fallen service members. That's amazing. I didn't know about that one.
There, and yeah, we got the slide. We just want to call up that our next symposium will be June 12th, 2026. You will be getting an email to provide feedback on this event. Please give us your thoughts or any suggestions or call outs. We do look at all those, and we appreciate the feedback. Thank you for attending. Hopefully you found this information helpful. I've got another 10 or 15 years before I got to start looking at this stuff, but thank you, Mark. It's great stuff to think on. And we thank you all. And again, we're here to help. Please let us know what we're missing, what's not being covered. The survivor inquiry form is always available. Your contacts through the services long-term programs are always there to help you. And we appreciate you taking the time with us. Hopefully you're staying warm if you're here in the mid-south, southeast coast, as we still are digging out of this ice. And we appreciate the time spent with you. And that concludes this. I said we'll wait a minute or two if there's any last questions or anything in the chat box, but please feel free to leave the symposium. All right, I'm not seeing anything else in the QA. I think any of the presenters got any last minute, or we can close this meeting out. Oh, Lisa, I think you're still muted there.
Well, we could thank the participants for their active involvement. This was an
Oh,
engaged
yes.
workshop that was amazing.
This was
That
great.
was. I love this format. And also too, I want to make sure we capture all the stuff we got in the Q&As in the chat.
I'm
And so this
reviewing it.
way
I
we can
think we
build
answered it.
Q&As.
I think
Yeah.
we answered it. I'm going through it. This is
And
great.
thank
I
you
want
so
to
much,
thank
Mercedes. This worked. This is what we wanted for chat and Q&A. This worked perfect. So
It
at
did.
least from my end, no glitches. I think, we got Bob squared away with being able to talk. This, if we can repeat this was great.
Yeah, one question I missed if they're on, I'm returning to college and doing work study. Do these benefits affect my DIC? Well, if you're still considered a full-time student, you can still get DIC. Tricia, I don't know. I mean, but if you're not a full-time student, yeah, you might not be able to get the DIC. But we can find some nonprofit groups for that person.
There you
go. I mean, gosh, I think we answered every question.
You did, as they came up, and man, where was I just closed the Q&A? I mean, that we had throughout this, 37 questions and 20 comments. So that's pretty awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah, this is great. I'm honored to work with you.
Oh, same to you, Mark. Thank you so much. And look
Thank you,
forward to
Mark.
as we plan for the next one.
Yep.
This is
And
great.
the rest of the team, thank you. Awesome.
Well, now we got to brace Jen's team because they might get all these phone calls tomorrow.
No, and that's always when.
And they're not affected by the potential government shutdown.
Potential shutdown.
So
Hey,
that's
we still
good.
got Saturday,
Provide
but we're not till
some
midnight Saturday.
support still, so that'll be good.